All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I am your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Spoken Studios with my guys, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
And Eddie Ortiz.
Yo.
Episode 181 in full swing, full motion. We are so happy to be here with you guys and for you to be here with us. Man, we are so much closer. We're inching closer and closer to our official 2022 NFL prediction show, which is always my favorite show every single year that we do here because we get some receipts on ourselves because we like keeping receipts of everybody else that's out there in the national or the local media, but we get to keep receipts on ourselves, and that's the funnest thing for me, to look back and see how right or wrong we all were. And I have a feeling, man, we're gonna have some fun,
Hopefully wrong.
some hot takes this
Speak
year,
for
man, because
yourself.
there's some serious influx going on in the NFL this year, and I cannot wait to get to the chaos in 1 week's time. First and foremost, we do want to pay homage before we get to anything else. I do want to say I would like to extend my sympathies and my heartfelt well wishes to the Dawson family. In case you did not know, but it's been very much at the forefront of all local media, even national media. SportsCenter's been doing an incredible job. NFL Network's done an incredible job of paying homage to the great and late Len Dawson, the Chiefs quarterback that led them to their first Super Bowl and their first Super Bowl victory. I just wanted to pay homage to him because I know we did that a couple weeks ago on the show, and we had heard the announcement that he was actually in hospice. His family was very private about all these things, and they just wished, they asked for everyone to respect their privacy and all these other things, and that's what everybody's been doing. I felt like this was handled really well by everyone across the board from top to bottom. But I would be remiss if I didn't jump into the show and pay homage to the great Len Dawson, his legacy. We've already addressed the crowning achievements this man has made, the lasting legacy he's had, being one of the true foundational pieces of Kansas City, not just in the sports mogul area, but as a broadcaster and as just a human being. And I just wanted to put that out there first and foremost and congratulate him for all his success and wish his family nothing but the best. And I know this is a very troubling time. The beautiful thing about it is this man did live a full life, and we are glad that he did go away peacefully. It wasn't anything where it was out of the blue, a tragic event. We know we've had those before with Kobe Bryant and other people like that, where it was just way before their time. Len lived a full life, and he was an incredible man throughout the entirety of it, and we wanted to give that to his family, to the people that he loved, and the people that loved him the most, because that is what it's all about, man. And we only hope to strive to be somebody like Len Dawson. If I could be half the man this man was, I know I lived a great life, and I just wanted to put that out there first and foremost. We also, guys, I'm telling you right now, we're really excited about this. We know that we've had a great following building over the last several years. We started the podcast side of things here at the Spoken in February of 2019. Eddie and I got together. We decided, let's make this happen. Trevor had some availability coming through. Trevor and I, obviously being brothers, this is what we've known. This is what we've loved our whole life. And Eddie being one of our closest friends for the last 5 years, let's do something. Let's make something happen. And we decided to put this show together for the last 3 years, almost 4 years now. It's flying by, my God. We've had an incredible time doing this with you guys, and it's been only going upward. We've only grown from that time, and we've only seen more great experiences out of this, experienced great things out of this, and it's been fun too because it's right in the middle of the Mahomes era too. Like, the timing of it could have been perfect. We started this the year the Chiefs win their first Super Bowl in 50 years, so I like to give ourselves a little credit. Maybe we gave them some good juju, and we got a new juju on the team now, so it's double juju up in this bitch. But we have been really having a lot of fun, man. We've been doing this now for 12 years as a whole at the Spoken, but we love to see a gradual uptick for our show and for our brand and for all you guys, because I know that you guys enjoy this as much as we do. And so we have an announcement to make today that I'm I'm really excited about. Trevor and Eddie and I had come together and agreed upon this unanimously. We, starting this next week, but it is now official, starting this next week, we will be working exclusively with Starcade Media. If you're not familiar with them, I highly recommend you go to their Facebook page. You can just look up Starcade Media. You can look up starcademedia.com. There's our website, and on Twitter at Starcade Media KC. Noah Groniger and Clint Switzer, they are great dudes. We really appreciate all that they do. They came to us with this idea. They pitched it to us, and we are very much excited to be a part of this with what they're doing. These guys work their asses off. They have an incredible following. I thought we had a good following. These guys have been kicking ass for years now. They have incredible guests. They do the hard work, man, and they really put forth that effort, and I've been a fan of what they've done kind of on the outside because I didn't really know these guys that well personally, but man, from a professional standpoint, I couldn't respect these guys anymore, and we are very much looking forward to working with these guys in the future. So I can't tell you guys how excited I am to make this happen. You guys have known in the past, we've worked with other people in the past, but I feel really good about this opportunity because they have the same goal, same mentality in mind as far as what we want to do. You guys know what our consistency here is. We pump out content. We give you guys our honest opinion. No bullshit. It's about entertainment. It's about fun, and it's about the truth, and it's about getting content out there. You guys know, and during the pandemic, every single week we had a show, and there was no sports. But we knew there was a responsibility on our end to give you guys something to talk about, something to look forward to, because it was also good for us. And it's what we love to do. We do not stop. We will not stop. And we appreciate Starcade Media for bringing us around, bringing us into the fold. We're really, really excited for the potential of this new business relationship and personal relationship, because these are now a part of our family and we're a part of theirs. And we're really, really excited. And we hope that you guys follow along as well, and you guys follow all their work, because they have so many other things going on. We are just now a small part of that, and we're very honored and privileged to be a part of that. So we wanted to put that out there first and foremost on this show, and thank you guys all for tagging along. If you already subscribed to our YouTube channel, thank you for that. If you're not, go ahead and hit us up there as well. We'd love to hear from you guys. Let us know what you guys think, what you guys' thoughts are leading into the NFL season, because we got a lot to get to, and we just wanted to put that out there and thank you guys, because this is also good for you guys. This isn't just some good news for us. This is good news for you guys, because you will see us on all these other platforms now, and you'll get an opportunity to share our work across the board, and they do that for us as well. We're just trying to contribute in any way that we possibly can by giving them our honest and consistent content. So that's it. Want to put that out there. That's the end of the show. You guys have a great day. I'm just kidding. We got a lot to get to today. We have a lot of Chiefs content to get to, guys, because we know that preseason is finally over. We have some roster decisions to make. We have some predictions, in particular certain positions that we know are very controversial, that we know that the Chiefs are going to have to make some pretty tough decisions. That's a good problem to have, because that means you have depth at key positions. We're going to get to that in just a second. We have the Eddie Hour. We have Hold This L, as we always do each and every week, to finalize and finish every single episode. And obviously, like I said, if you guys have anything you want to discuss, hit us up on our YouTube channel. Let us know what you guys are thinking, what you guys want to talk about, and we'll get to you guys as well. But I want to start with the Chiefs and first and foremost, because we know, like I said, the preseason is now officially over. Real football is in the midst. We are on the horizon. We're there. And I could not be more excited about this season, because I think the Chiefs have a lot of statements to make. And like I said, next week we will be making our official predictions across the board of what happens in the NFL this season, from regular season standings, divisional winners, and obviously the playoffs, and how we see this thing finalizing. We'll even give out some MVPs and some shit like that, because we're crazy like that, man. We like to go down the board, and I know you guys are excited about that as well. But I want to start first and foremost when it comes to the roster. So we know that there's been a lot of predictions out there as far as how the 53-man is going to look by Tuesday, which is the actual deadline of where the Chiefs have to have their 53-man roster in place. It is by Tuesday morning, if I'm not mistaken. And there are a few positions that I think we really need to address today. Now, I already posted on our Twitter page and on our Facebook page my prediction of what the total 53-man is, and I can go down that list in a little bit. But I wanted to talk to Trevor and Eddie specifically about a few positions that I think we need to keep our eyes closely attentive to by Tuesday. And it's surprising, because I think one of the positions that needs to be focused on is actually quarterback. Now, Eddie, I know you and I have had our talks in the previous weeks about, I know Chad Henne is that extension of the coaching staff. We know that he's a guy that gives Patrick Mahomes another viewpoint as a quarterback of what to look for and what you're seeing and how to disguise this and watch for these disguises from the defense. And all intents and purposes, Chad Henne should be the second quarterback on this team, because of that very fact, and the fact that he's owed over $3 million in guaranteed dollars this year. So I doubt that the Chiefs are going to outright cut him or release him or whatever the fact is and just eat that money. That's not going to happen. So Chad Henne is going to be safe. Where the controversy begins is with Shane Buechele. This guy is, I believe he's 27 years old now. He's been on the team now for a few years, and he's been on the practice squad, and he's been fairly unknown across the league because he wasn't a guy. He was just a practice squad guy. Well, and this particular preseason and in training camp, quite frankly, Shane Buechele has made an absolute impact. It's hard to ignore what Shane Buechele has brought to the table, especially in Week 3 of the preseason against the Packers. Man threw 2 touchdowns, and I think completed over 70% of his passes.
He's a fearless guy, man.
He looked really good. He looks really sharp. We saw even in the early preseason games with Justin Watson, the absolute rope he threw against the Bears, if I'm not mistaken.
They were clicking.
You saw the chemistry. You saw that Shane Buechele understands the
Just
offense.
this last
Even at a vanilla level, he understands what he needs to do. And so now the question becomes, do the Chiefs bring him on the staff? Because you have to keep him on the roster, because you put him on the practice squad, someone else can pick him up. And I'm not sure if the Chiefs want to do that. Where I'm conflicted, though, is the fact this team has so many players across the board that I know they're going to want to keep in positions where guys will actually play. And if Patrick Mahomes stays healthy, no one's playing the quarterback position unless it's a blowout. And if Patrick Mahomes isn't healthy, Chad Henne will be playing. Yeah. So it's hard for me to imagine the Chiefs will keep Shane Buechele, considering that when you can use that roster spot for another position where they will actually be on the field. And that's why I have a problem believing that Shane Buechele will make this team, even though I do believe the Chiefs are big on him. I have to imagine that they're confident that Patrick Mahomes will be healthy with this great offensive line that's in front of him that will protect him, and the fact that Chad Henne can go out there and spot fill. We've seen him do it in big games, the biggest of games, in playoff games. He can go and do that. Now, the debate could be, well, who's the better quarterback right now, Shane Buechele or Chad Henne? I could lean Shane Buechele. Problem, though, is we've never seen Shane Buechele in an actual game setting have to go out there and win a game. So I have to still give Chad Henne a little bit of advantage here. And again, it's hard for me to imagine the Chiefs are going to use a third spot for another quarterback on their 53-man. So I don't think Shane Buechele is going to make this roster. And I think it's unfortunate because he more ultimately and inevitably will be picked up by another team. But I'm willing to live with that if I know the other factors are still in place. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, I mean, the Panthers are still looking for a quarterback, right? So that's an opportunity. You know what I mean? I like Buechele. I like his fearlessness. I like the way he plays. But then again, we all know what it is. It's preseason football, man. That's when you go out there and take risk and try to make that highlight film. And granted, he's doing it. He's playing well. But Chad Henne's proven it. Chad Henne in playoff games and big or games leading into the postseason or whenever Pat's gone down, he's shown up in big moments, whether it's with his arm or his leg. We've seen him run for big plays and make clutch plays, and not only that did he believe in himself, but Andy Reid believed in him to make big plays on fourth downs. You know what I mean? So I'm saying, this is Chad Henne. There's not even a question here for me. Not even a debate. I didn't honestly never even gave it a thought. That I like the natural youth and the talent of Buechele and the fire that kid has, but Henne's that cool, calm, collected veteran guy, has a cool arm tattoo, you know what I mean, got it in his mid-30s, like a cool guy, you know what I mean, he's just like that, and also he's like another added coach to the staff, he's a guy that's going to be in Pat's ear, it's just been around, he's been around a lot of good coaches, he's been around a lot of other good players, he's just a guy that's just done his time, he's aged, he's that fine wine on the sideline, so I like Buechele a lot. I don't know if he's going to get picked up by another. I mean, I'm sure someone might pick him up as a backup somewhere. I don't know. I mean, there's so many backups in this league right now. So I think we find a way to retain him and keep him, maybe give him another chance next year. Like you said, I think this year for sure, Henne has solidified himself again as the backup, the direct backup to Patrick Mahomes. But maybe if we can find a way to get him next year and Henne's out of the picture, because that's what I believe is going to happen. I think this is Henne's final year here. But yeah, I mean, I like Buechele a lot. He's fun to watch. He was fun to watch in this past game. Throwing to what's his name, that backup tight end we had that went off before he broke his clavicle. Yeah, that kid was impressive as well. I mean, we can talk about that kid. He was elusive and big and strong and fast, and broke free in big plays. And Buechele, man, he's just, like I said, fearless is always the word that kind of comes to my mind. He kind of has that Taylor Henneke, or Tyler Henneke.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good comparison.
He has that kind of fearlessness. It can be reckless at times,
and they're built almost the exact same way too.
And they both can run. You know what I mean? They both have some wheels on them, and they both are pretty accurate as well, and they have a pretty good deep ball. So I like his fearless mentality, and that's how you have to be, because we've seen Crum go out there and just absolutely choke it away in preseason games. No offense, but he's like the polar opposite of what Buechele's been doing. Buechele's going out there and just slanging it. So that's what you got to do if you want to make a name for yourself. And this is, and you're playing behind, two other quarterbacks trying to make that third spot possibly, or try to steal that backup position. And you're playing, a team with Patrick Mahomes, and you got to shine in that preseason. You got to lay it all out there, man. And I think he's done nothing but that these last couple of years in preseasons that we've watched, and we've all become fans of him. And he's got raving reviews from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes has obviously shown love to him. So yeah, I love the kid, but it's still Chad Henne for me, man.
I'm leaning the completely opposite way here. I understand Chad Henne, veteran and all that, but I think the better quarterback going into this next season is Shane Buechele. Though the upper hand that Chad Henne has on Shane Buechele is the contract. And I think his contract is going to make him that backup quarterback, even though his gameplay probably says otherwise. That's how I'm leaning. I'm leaning towards the Chiefs are going to go with 3 quarterbacks into this season. Why am I leaning that way? Because they showed us that last year. Last year, as soon as there was any rumors of, I believe it was the Cardinals that were about to or trying to sign Shane Buechele, the Chiefs signed him to the 53-man roster, meaning they want Shane Buechele.
Of course.
Meaning that Shane Buechele is their backup, their future backup. Therefore, the Chiefs are not going to let Shane Buechele go. And I think knowing for sure, I think that this is Chad Henne's last season with the Chiefs. I think Shane Buechele is the future backup for this team. And the Chiefs showed us that last year.
That's what I'm saying. I think they could still sign him to the roster if they want to keep him.
Well, they have to sign him to the 53 because if they don't, they could have to cut him.
They can make that happen. I just don't. What has Shane Buechele done to make you think that he is the better backup than Henne? Because Henne's shown up in big moments.
No, I get it. The playoff game against the Cleveland Browns.
Of course.
That's really the only game I really remember Chad Henne coming in and taking over Mahomes' spot because of Mahomes went down. The other one is Matt Moore in 2019 where the dislocated patella, and then Matt Moore came in and just fucking killed the 3 games that Pat was gone, 2 games that he was gone. So I haven't seen much of Chad Henne even in the preseason games. I've seen more of Shane Buechele in the preseason games that has told me I'll probably bet on Shane Buechele than Chad Henne. But Chad Henne being that veteran quarterback, being that veteran presence, the Chiefs have bet with him. So
I'll say this in response to you because I think that you make good points about I think the Chiefs do want to keep Shane Buechele.
Of course they do.
And in a scenario where let's say Chad Henne didn't have guaranteed dollars. Let's say he was got $4 million and it's all incentive based. I do believe there would be a change. And I think the Chiefs would be very classy about it and say, hey Chad, we'd love to have you as a quarterback's consultant or an offensive consultant on our staff because I do believe he's a very intelligent human being, which is why he's been in this league so long. He has more interceptions than touchdowns in his career, so it's not because he's just this prolifically talented quarterback. It's because the dude knows his shit. And so I think
he's got the trust of coach.
I think that if that was the case, I just can't imagine the Chiefs are going to eat $3 million.
That's what I'm saying. No.
I just don't think it's going to happen. So Shane Buechele, the advantages that I do believe he does have is he's 10 years younger, and I do believe he's a more skilled player, and I do believe that he has more upside, and I would love to see him get an opportunity to go out there. I just think that the Chiefs are also the type of team, Steve Spagnuolo's admitted it, Andy Reid's admitted it, they lean heavy with their veterans. And I think that Chad Henne being a guy that they know they can rely on in a spot is the biggest reason, along with his $3 million guaranteed, that's going to keep him on this roster. And with Shane Buechele, I know, like I said, the Chiefs are wanting to keep him, but I think if it comes to push comes to shove, and they have to either keep another wide receiver or a tight end or offensive lineman or another quarterback, I have to imagine they're going to choose one of those other 3 options before quarterback because of, like I've said, Patrick is a very healthy quarterback. They have a great offensive line that's going to protect him, and if in fact Patrick was to go down, they have a guy they can trust in Chad Henne. So that's just why I don't think they're going to have.
Do you think there's a scenario
roster
where we can maybe possibly trade him, if anything, if we did sign him to the
53 That's interesting, but see, they would have to sign him to the 53-man roster.
We could sign him and then try to.
That's interesting though, because of the fact that there's also a potential of the Chiefs signing another defensive end, another offensive lineman, another tight end because of Blake Bell, like we're going to discuss in a second. So they could trade to Shane Buechele, offer up that roster spot, and then go and sign another guy.
Well, I was semi tongue in cheek when I mentioned the Panthers, but Sam Darnold did just go down yesterday.
High ankle sprain.
He had to get carted off the field. So I'm just saying, that is a possible, because Baker's never been a strong bill of health throughout his career either. So I'm saying, That
the Seahawks can use more quarterback play.
Exactly.
There's opportunities
but
there.
The Panthers came to my mind just because that's a fresh injury, and that was a quarterback battle that was going on, even though Baker's been named the starter. But their depth is
that 49ers
terrible.
trading Jimmy Garoppolo inevitably, that opens up another roster spot.
So you tell me Bouchel
can
go in there and run that system just as good as Baker? I think he could. You know what I mean? So I think there's teams that would probably trade for him. I'm
really interested to see how this goes with him because I think, like I said, he's earned a roster spot.
I don't want him to go anywhere. I like him.
Here in Kansas City, it's very difficult to imagine he's going to get a spot. We'll see. And Pete Sweeney, he runs and operates Arrowhead Pride. He agrees with you. He thinks Shane Buechele is going to make this roster. I don't, but I'm willing to see that happen. And I think that if it does happen, congratulations.
Look, I'm going to say this. I hope that's what happens. I would like him to take Henny's spot, but like you said, the math doesn't add up. The money doesn't add up. I think next year is that time if we find a way to keep him around.
Yeah,
I would love this because I love the kid. He's fun to watch, man.
Yes. And I feel like the Chiefs want to keep him around. Therefore, I think that, like I said, last year the Chiefs showed us that they want him around. They signed him to the 53-man roster. That told us, okay, that's the backup of the future.
Mm-hmm.
So
and why would he not want to be here?
So Shane Buechele is invested in this team. The Chiefs are invested in him. So I think the Chiefs are gonna avoid any conversations with other teams, just to keep him here. So I think what would avoid that is them signing him to the 53-man roster. So.
But then again, if someone wants to pay him some handsome money and go play some football and possibly start somewhere, I want that for him as well. You know what I mean? I want the best for him.
There's the controversy doesn't end there, guys. Trust me, it only gets higher and higher here when it comes to these other positions. So the running back position is probably the most interesting position of all this entire offseason. And I've always said it's really ironic because we know that Andy Reid's offense is not predicated on running back play. This isn't the Tennessee Titans, where you have Derrick Henry and then you have a quarterback that just kind of stays out of the way. We all know this is an air raid offense essentially. We know that running backs are a running back by committee here unless you have a special one like Kareem Hunt or Jamal Charles. Well, the Chiefs don't have that right now. They don't have a Kareem Hunt or Jamal Charles on their roster. So the Chiefs are going to be a running back by committee situation. And as I've been saying over and over again for the last couple of weeks, there is a real opportunity here for the Chiefs to keep full running backs.
Yep.
And the reason why is because, as I've addressed on the show numerous times, but I'll do it again because we're here talking about this directly, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, although was a first-round pick in 2020, he's already missed 10 games in only 2 seasons. So there's a real injury concern there. And also, there's a lot of people out there that believe he's been very ineffective at times. I don't believe that. I think that Clyde, when he plays and when he's healthy, he's been a really good football player. He hasn't been great, but he's been good.
Hasn't been very impressive to me.
And there's, I understand that. Like I can see why people see that.
Yeah.
But I've seen the overall productivity from both receiving and running the ball when he's been given opportunities, and he's looked good. His rookie season had over 1,100 total yards, and I think 7 or 8 touchdowns. So that's a really good rookie season. I think he can build upon that. He's actually younger than Isaiah Pacheco, as crazy as that sounds. And this is Isaiah Pacheco's rookie season, and this is Clyde's 3rd season. So that's kind of a wild factor there. And speaking of Isaiah Pacheco, being we all love what we're seeing from the guy. I mean, from OTAs, mini camps, training camp to now preseason, this guy just continues to climb the charts here. Fans love him. He's already a fan favorite. Hasn't even played in a real game yet. And he looks really talented. He has quick burst. He looks really good. Outside of that Creed Humphrey play that was the holding play,
which is
it was like a 21-yard rush, and he just flew down the field. And he had the 10 jersey, which was kind of on brand here.
He's been the most impressive back in the preseason.
The problem, though, is that we all have to address the obvious here, is that he is a 7th-round rookie running back who is unproven. And that is something that you have to allow to take shape. You can't just throw all your chips into that bucket and hope that just works out. That's not how it goes. I'm rooting for the kid, and I believe this dude could be RB1 one day. I really do believe he has that potential, but we have to allow that to take shape. We can't just throw him out there and expect that to be the case, which leaves 2 other guys. Jerick McKinnon absolutely balled out in the playoffs last year for the Chiefs. Was absurd. Made some of the biggest plays that helped the Chiefs get back to another AFC championship. I will give him all the respect in the world. This guy has started less than 7 games in the last 5 years, and he's injury prone, and he's 30, and he's undersized. That is a real problem to consider as well, which leaves one other guy, Ronald freaking Jones. And maybe we're one of the few out here, we're in the minority. I've seen some people that supported my stance on this.
There's rumors circulating that he's going to be cut.
There's rumors circulating also he's getting traded.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Which I'm actually on board with if the Chiefs can get a valued pick or a couple valued picks out of that trade.
I seen a lot of stuff yesterday floating around that he's going to be cut.
But I'm standing firm.
I don't see that as a possibility.
But I'm standing firm based upon these scenarios of these other 3 backs that the Chiefs currently have on their roster, that Ronald Jones needs to be on this roster. Mm-hmm. I think he makes the 53-man better, even though, again, There are running backs on this team that have gotten more shine, that have gotten more opportunity, that will get more opportunity in the regular season, in my opinion. I think that Clyde and Pacheco right now are the running back 1 and 2, but Ronald Jones gives you certainty. He is the most proven running back on this team, and it'd be one thing if Ronald was like 29, 30. I'd be like, Chiefs would probably just cut him. He's 25,
and if he had
and
a whole
he
lot
just
of,
turned 25.
He doesn't have that much tread on his tires. He was in rotation with
Leonard Fournette got the bulk of the carries back in Tampa Bay,
right.
and plus Ronald Jones has been on a team where in big games he's played.
Yeah.
So he has playoff experience. He has
big
game experience.
Big play potential.
And he's played well. He's played very well. Go look up his career numbers, man. This guy has been a good, borderline above average running back in his career.
Yeah.
And again, he's only played a short amount of time. To Trevor's point, the tread is still very much there on the tires. I don't think he'll be running back 1 on this team, but the depth is what this team needs based upon the fact that 2 of the other 3 running backs on this team are injury-prone players to this point of their careers, and the other guy's an unproven 7th-round running back, rookie. So I think Ronald Jones needs to make this team. If they trade him, I'm good with it. I don't want to see him cut, though. I do not want to see him cut. I'd rather him either make the roster or they trade him for picks.
Well, and with Derek Gore going down, who's possibly going to be down, for a good while, it seems. I think he had was it a hamstring issue that he had or something like that?
He's had a couple injuries from what I know.
Anyways, he's out. So Derek Gore is out. So that
definitely was a shoulder neck injury too. I think he had.
There's been a couple injuries floating around in different players. I keep getting them mixed up, but him out of the picture right now. And I'm a Ronald Jones fan. Like I think that dude could go start on multiple teams and be the RB1 for multiple teams. I think he is a very good bet, and I think for this team he fits the mold of what we would need as a package deal, as a guy in the rotation for short yardage plays and things, because he's the only true Isaiah Pacheco might become that guy. But Clyde's has not really been a good short yard guy in his career so far. He continues to get stuffed and is not able to elude the first tackler. He gets tackled too much by the first guy. He doesn't make the first guy miss enough. He's good when he bounces outside and gets space, but he hasn't been a good short yardage guy. Pacheco could be a good short yardage guy. He's young. He's inexperienced, and he's shown to go hit the wrong gap at the wrong time on certain plays we've seen in the preseason so far. That's just experience. Ronald Jones has not only experience, but he's the strongest, I think, of these running backs. I think he's the best short yardage guy, kind of similar to like a Spencer Ware role when he was, that guy that would come in on a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, 3rd and inches when we needed that first down. I think that's Ronald Jones. And if you just watch this, I know it's preseason, but you just watch this pass game with the Packers, the time he was on the field, he was getting chances, he was running fools over.
Yeah.
And that's the Rojo I know. That's the dude, he's a beast. Like he knows he carries his weight heavier than he looks. He runs really hard. I'm just a personal fan of him. I would hate to see him. If he gets cut, I'm gonna be pissed off. I'm gonna be honest. If he gets cut, I think it's a stupid move. If we end up trading him for a pick or something like that, or another guy to come onto the team, if we need another position filled, maybe another tight end or something. I know we just lost one of our guys. I don't know. If we trade him for an asset, I can live with that because we got something out of it. We got return on our investment because we did invest in him. We paid him. We signed him to a contract. So. I don't know. I want to see him make this team. I want depth at the running back position because the way you laid it out, obviously we have some injury-prone guys and unproven. We're filled with either unproven rookies or unproven young guys or injury-prone guys. Right. So I think Rojo is that balance to what this RB room would be, with him being pretty much a veteran as well. And his ability to, like I said, get short yardage chunk plays and be that thunder to the lightning of Clyde or these flashy guys that are more scat back type running backs. I think Isaiah Pacheco is going to be the guy this year pretty much. I really think as far as like true running back, I think he's going to be the guy. Clyde should be getting more passing attempts or passing down plays. But Rojo he's just that good balance guy, and I think it's a smart move to keep him around, to be honest. So I'm hoping, from my camp, I'm hoping he makes this team. I think he does.
On my end, I bought what Lance gave me last week, but after I thought about it, and after an injury happened during the week that kind of changed my mind in Rojo making this team. I think he's either cut or traded from the Chiefs. I think there was an injury to a player on another position that we're going to talk about here that it's going to cost this pretty much domino effect on Rojo. And I think the Chiefs are going to hope he clears waivers so they can bring him back. That's what they're going to hope for Rojo, which I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt he's going to clear waivers. But I think that's what the Chiefs are being in a way, a little bit forced to due to an injury, but I do think that Pacheco, McKinnon, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are going to be the guys that are going to lead these running back group into the 2022 season. Not that Rojo is a bad running. He's proven, like you guys said, he's a proven running back. But I think that the Chiefs already, like Andy Reid, I think has already made up his mind as to what he wants, and I think we all seen how much they like Pacheco, and I think Pacheco's ultimately beaten Rojo for that last spot in this running back group. I think what McKinnon did last year in the playoffs is what is keeping him here. And CH obviously being the first round pick, and Andy Reid wanting to give him more opportunities and finally, hopefully, can make him explode this year for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which I think this is his last opportunity for CH and the Chiefs. So I think that's why those three are beating Rojo, not because Rojo's a bad quarterback, bad running back or anything like that, but I think injuries in other positions have made pretty much this move.
If it came down to who would you guys rather have on the roster, Rojo or McKinnon?
I'm glad you just brought that up because I would pick Rojo.
Yeah, me too.
And here's I know that sounds like I'm not appreciative of what McKinnon has done, but here's the thing. I think that what McKinnon did
you got to understand that was a short amount of time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it worked out perfectly for McKinnon because no one was really anticipating for him to be that effective.
Right.
I think people were anticipating that Ronald Jones was Jerick McKinnon was going to be just a guy that just filled the spot and just did mediocre work. And he went out there and he took care of business. I appreciate everything he did. But am I really going to sit here and believe that he will replicate that in another playoff run? I don't, because I also don't think he'll get the opportunities, which is why I would go with a younger, bigger, more proven back. Because although McKinnon is good, Ronald Jones has actually been more proven in a shorter amount of time. Are we having technical difficulties?
Yeah, like our cameras just keep switching.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what's
Sorry,
happening.
guys. For those who are viewing, we're still live. We're good. I think.
All right, we're good.
We're good. It's
So just to answer the question as honestly
Yeah.
as I can, I pay all the respect in the world for Jerick McKinnon, but I'm glad you brought that up because that was going to be my next take. Is if I was to have to choose between those two, because I think
that could
Pacheco
be
and Clyde are safe.
Conversation is happening right now.
Yeah, I think Pacheco and Clyde are safe. I think it comes down to that last guy. If they have to choose, the Chiefs brass are sitting down going, we're only keeping three backs.
Yeah.
And it comes down to McKinnon or Ronald Jones. I would have to believe it's going to be Ronald Jones.
And I think they're being forced to keeping three backs. Just we'll get to my reason as to why they might stick with three backs. But
That's fair. That's totally fine. And I think, like I said, this is one of the more interesting positional groups, even though, again, running back in Kansas City isn't used as prevalent as other teams use the running back position. I actually want to get to the wide receiver position because this is where I think that there is a solidified agreement in a lot of places, but I think there are some people out there that are still rooting for some of these fringe players. So I think the obviousness out there, I think we all will agree on universally, is the first five
Jordan.
names. I'll just come out and say I think the Chiefs are going to keep 6 wide receivers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's a safe number. The Chiefs are extremely deep, and I will say that confidently. They are extremely deep at wide receiver. In fact, they're deeper now at wide receiver than they've been since 2018 when Sammy Watkins first came here and Tyreek Hill was obviously in the prime of his career. I think as it currently stands, these are the for sure guys. Juju Smith-Schuster, McCole Hardman, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Sky Moore, and Justin Watson. I think those guys 100% have locked themselves in. Justin Watson is one of the most surprising pieces. And what I love about this guy and why I'm actually excited about him, and you're going to probably be blown away by this, why I'm actually excited for Marquez Valdes-Scantling being on this team is something my guy Jay Binkley said on radio yesterday I didn't think about. These two guys, although they're not star players by any means, are two guys that are coming from, or actually Juju is included in this as well, but he has star potential. These three guys, Juju, Marquez, and Justin Watson, all are coming from places where they played with Hall of Fame quarterbacks, which means they all understand the demand of playing with a big name, and I think it's an easier transition for guys like that than even guys like Sky Moore who are coming out of college, and then all of a sudden they're playing with the god with a helmet and Patrick Mahomes.
Well, they've all played with big name quarterbacks, but they also still feel like they probably have a lot to prove.
That's a great
they're all
point.
still young.
That's a great point. So Justin Watson, to me, has capitalized on his opportunity. I think he's only 26 or 27 years old.
Yeah.
He has clicked with Patrick. It's funny. He's clicked with all three quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, Chad Henne, and Shane Buechele. He's made a play with all three guys.
Yeah.
And during preseason. So he is so safe on this team. And I think I told you
Good
guys,
special teamer.
during the Bears game, he's standing on the sidelines with the
next to
towel on his neck, next to Patrick, Travis, McCole, and all the,
He's
all
like,
the elites.
I belong
just
here.
chilling. Yeah,
That's
just
the
chilling with the
confidence
elites.
you
Yeah.
want that. You want
He
that
looked like he's been here for
confidence,
5 years himself.
He's made this team.
Yeah, so
That's-
where it gets interesting, though,
Yeah.
because I don't think we can really debate on any of those guys. Where it gets interesting, though, is Darius Fountain,
Yep.
Cornell Powell, and Josh Gordon. This is where I think it gets really interesting. Now, I will make it very obvious here. I think if I had to choose between any of those guys, it's clearly Darius Fountain. He's the guy that is all, because we all know a guy that is heavily influences how this roster is built is Dave Tobe, the special teams coach.
Yeah.
And Dave Tobe loves him some Darius Fountain. Darius Fountain is really good in special teams, and that's why you're going to see some other guys I might name later on both offense and defense that are going to make this roster simply because of what they do on special teams. Special teams is a big thing here in Kansas City. Dave Tobe is maybe the best special teams coach in the NFL, outside of John Harbaugh, who's now a head coach and has been a head coach for a long time, but it was a special teams coach before he did that. It still helps with the special teams in Baltimore. But I know, and my guy Marcus Dash, Chiefs Concern, my guy Jason Dunn from Chief Concerns, we were going to have Jason Dunn on the show today. He's got some stuff going on. We're going to have him on the next few weeks. But we had Marcus on a couple weeks ago, and they are the ones that have been really pushing for Josh Gordon to make the roster, and we can go through it all again. The point, though, I'm trying to make, though, is at this position, and as wild as it sounds, losing Tyreek Hill in the same offseason, there is a VIP treatment here, man, in Kansas City when it comes to wide receiver, because they are deep at wide receiver. I don't care what anybody's telling me about losing Tyreek Hill. That can be the national narrative. That can be the low-hanging fruit. What I'm looking at is what I have right now, and I think that Patrick Mahomes has a stable of awesome wide receivers on this team that he can choose and pick and choose. All right, who's having the 100 yards this week? All right, who's getting the 10 receptions this week? Because there's going to be those guys that have those weeks where they, 1 week from the next, the other guy's leading the team in receptions or receiving yards from the wide receiving core. I think that Darius Fountain gives you that option of being a reliable receiver, and he plays special teams. So I think he gets the sixth and final spot, but I'm open-minded to the opportunity that the Chiefs might justify by giving a Josh Gordon or a Cornell Powell, because Cornell Powell is a talented young dude. The problem, though, is that he's had too many. When you're a fringe player like that, you can't have bad highlights. You have to just show, because like Justin Watson, coming in here, he was a fringe player. People are like, he might make the roster. We'll see. And he goes out there and just capitalizes, catches big balls, makes special teams plays, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, safe. This guy is safe. Yeah. And so I think that that's what Cornell Powell needed this offseason. He has not done that, which is why I don't believe he's making this roster. I think Darius Fountain's got the inside edge in both him and Josh Gordon, and I think Darius Fountain gets that sixth and final spot. What do you say, Trevor?
Yeah, I mean, so we can skip past the guys that we know are locks, with the Marquez and Juju, McCole, Sky Moore. Justin Watson, I believe, is a lock now as well. With his, what he's shown, his connection with the quarterbacks, and his ability. What I like about Justin Watson too is I'll just say this: I think he's just a gym rat kind of guy. He's a guy that is just nose deep in the playbook. He's a coach's favorite kind of guy. He's one of those, you bring your.
He's a white wide receiver with some skill. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm just saying. Let's be real. Those white guys got to work a little harder than because they're not nearly as athletically gifted as a lot of these guys are. So they got to be.
Why do you think Cooper Kupp has to be in the film room all the time with the quarterbacks? Because he's got to make it. Man.
And every team needs a guy like that. Just a gritty, go get it, hard worker. Film junkie. That's what I think he is, and that every team wants that with special teams and just being out there in the offense. If someone goes down, I think he could be a reliable guy, and he has played with Tom Brady and other. He's played on good teams, so he has that under his belt as well. I think Darius Fountain is a lock.
You think Darius is a lock?
I think he's a lock, dude. Okay. I mean, he's been a lock the last couple of years, right? He's one of Tobe's guys.
Yeah.
He's a good guy on special teams. Good gunner. He's always involved wherever the ball is on special teams. He has a good nose for the ball. He's kind of a dual guy. He's kind of one of those guys you need. You need guys like that on this team. And he's always typically remained healthy, and he's shown up and made some good plays in the offense when guys have gone down. I think Patrick Mahomes has mentioned him as well during camp and things, and he's given him his flowers during camp. And if Patrick's doing that for a guy that's the fifth, sixth guy in this wide receiver room, that's impressive. And I think he's a guy that has the trust of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and obviously Dave Tobe. So I think he's a lock at this point. I think. You brought up Cornell Powell. I think Corey Coleman should be the guy mentioned here instead of Cornell Powell because I think
the returnability.
I mean, look, I love Josh Gordon. I always have. I've always been a big fan. And we could talk about what he could be in this offense. We could talk about what he could have been last year when Jody Fortson went down. I really thought he was going to kind of like take that tight end hybrid, wide receiver hybrid kind of role and be a good red zone threat. It never happened, right? He scored 1 touchdown, and it was kind of just a gimme layup kind of touchdown on the 1 yard line there. So I love Josh Gordon. And we could talk about, like I said, we could talk about what we would like him to be in this offense, what he could do, what his presence could be in this offense. But we gotta talk about what he is, though.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been anything. He hasn't been anything on this preseason. He's dropped balls. He hasn't been a target favorite. He hasn't been a go-to guy. He just hasn't looked that great. When he had he's just, and that's me just being real. And I'm a big fan of him personally as a person. His redemption story, what that could possibly be in the NFL, and just his personal, his individual skill set as a player, and what I've always believed in him to be, but he just hasn't been that. He just hasn't. And I think Corey Coleman, and the main reason I say Corey Coleman is because he returns kicks and punts.
Yeah.
He's a special
And
teams
that's special teams.
And
So there we go,
I
yeah.
think he was hand selected by Dave Toad to be a part of the special teams, and he's looked good on returns. He has. I think Sky Moore's looked the best as far as, especially this past game. That kid's blazing quick with that ball. So I think Corey Coleman has a chance to make this roster.
Okay.
I do. I think he's looked good catching the ball. With Bouchel a couple times, he's looked good. And he's a guy that's also a veteran in this league now.
Yeah, he's 29 if I'm not
I think
mistaken.
he's been in the league for 5 years now,
Yeah.
5-6 years almost. So I think he's a guy that definitely, and he's always been a talented guy. He's just kind of been stuck on some bad teams. The Browns years, there were some things going on with that, and there's some trash teams going on over there. But I think
he's 28. He's 28.
Okay, yeah. So I think he's kind of like a dark horse guy to make this roster due to his special teams capabilities. Say Fountain goes down, I think he's a guy that can slide right into that, and be that guy on the special teams and receiver room. So I think Corey Coleman instead of Cornell Powell is the guy to actually talk about.
Okay, that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
I mean, the same 5 as everybody else, and I think the 6th one, I think we all had him, is Darius Fountain. Just what he's done in this preseason, he's shown up. He's caught balls. He's done his job,
Yeah.
and I think that's what has earned him that last spot at the wide receiver position. Not saying that he's better than the other guys or that he's gonna get a lot of playing time. No, it's more of a kind of like that special teams kind of guy. Maybe if two or three of your wide receivers go down, then you're gonna start seeing a lot of Darius Fountain out there.
Yeah.
But I think for me that was an easy lock towards the last game here, Thursday. So. Yeah, there's not much to add to what you guys already said about all the other guns. We pretty much
So we all agree that Josh Gordon's probably gone.
Yes.
Unfortunately, yes. And I think that when you
And I know he
see
had that
his
cryptic
tweets,
tweet, yeah.
I think that pretty much told you, Marcus Dash, please don't watch. But I do believe Josh is gone, and I really do hope he makes another roster. But if I'm a betting man, I think he probably wears his last NFL jersey. I really do. He's 31 years old now, and I want to credit Starcade Media, our new umbrella network here. They actually had a tweet that I just had seen recently in regards to what is going on with Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
So this can be looked at as a silver lining. So they put up here, they said, everyone in Chiefs Kingdom can relax because Josh Gordon is making this roster, but his name is Jody Fortson. He's 5 years younger.
That's a great point.
Wears the number 88, which we all love, and plays tight end. And if you look at their intangibles, basically, Josh Gordon is 6'3", 224 pounds. Jody Fortson 6'4", 226 pounds.
Right.
The difference is they're 5 years difference.
That's why
Jody's 5 years younger.
I mentioned Jody Fortson when he went down last year because I was hoping Josh Gordon could kind of take that role, and he never looked like he had that step. He always kind of looked like he was a step off, and that sucked for me because I was like, man, you remember how excited I was last year
That's
when we got
how the
Josh
league goes,
Gordon?
man. Is that if you're gone for any length of time, it blows by you.
Yeah.
It just blows by you. And I think that as great of an athlete, and I feel so bad because I wanted to see Josh Gordon get that second win here in Kansas City because it's a great story and it only benefits the Chiefs.
Well, yeah,
But the NFL fucked him really bad with these rules.
Oh, I know. That's why
weed'll kill you. Don't go.
That's why I said
games.
redemption story. I was hoping he'd had that redemption story, go win a fucking ring.
Yeah, this dude was going to be a Hall of Famer. Josh Gordon was going to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver in this league.
As far as talent, the size, and
that
the speed that
2013
kid had.
season.
Listen, and then I think with what Jody Fortson has been showing in this preseason already, and the connection he has with Mahomes, and his ability to find pay dirt numerous times already, and how healthy he looks, he's going to be a force. And I think that only is damning to the future. And I know they're different positions.
Yeah.
But the role that they're playing in the red zone is
Yeah.
what I thought Josh Gordon would be last year, and that's who Jody Fortson is.
Yeah, and the only person that I would rather trust, or the only person I trust as much with NFL knowledge that I outside of Jay Binkley, our guy Bink, is Greg Cosell.
Yeah.
From the NFL Network. I mean, this guy is just I would listen to this man talk about paint drying on my wall over here. This man is so knowledgeable. And what did he say on Colin Cowherd's show this week when he talked about the adaptation of Tyreek Hill's absence for the Chiefs? The first name he mentioned was Jody Fortson.
Yeah.
That is not something you can ignore.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody that wants to just be the hype machine all the time and says like, oh, this fringe player here, this fringe player there is the next up and coming whatever. Because I don't think Jody Fortson's the next up and coming whatever.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy though that the Chiefs. It would not shock me.
Barring health.
It would not shock me in the slightest bit if a healthy Jody Fortson plays all 16, 17 games this season. If he doesn't flirt with 8 touchdowns this year.
Oh, dude.
It does not. 4 games last year, he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Pace that out.
Especially when we're running
Pace
like 2
that
or
out.
3 tight end sets, and we go heavy on that. I'm telling you, man.
You got to think about it. This is the number 2 right behind Travis Kelce.
Right, and
As of
that's
right
why
now,
I want to
for sure.
segue right into the tight end position. This is a perfect segue.
Yeah.
All right, so last year I talked about how the Chiefs needed to keep 4 tight ends. That's exactly what they did, and it looked like it was going to work out beautifully with the T-Rex formation they had going on.
Yeah.
It looked awesome. I was calling it skyscrapers with cleats.
Yep.
Jason Dunn loved that too, by the way, so thank you for that, Jason. But this year I think will be a little bit different just based upon health as we just addressed. And it won't be because of Jody Fortson, it'll be because of Blake Bell. A guy I love on this roster, an elite
He'll be back.
pass and run blocker. The problem, though, is, and as I've been looking, he had that hip surgery. According to what I've been researching on Google, because Google's cool, it says that it can take up to 3 months for him to return.
Yeah.
So what that means is what? He could potentially be on the IR and miss the entire year. Because if he gets on the IR before the season begins, he's missing the entire season. So I'm gonna go with the safe bet that we don't see Blake Bell this year. I think the Chiefs will have
the
him
whole
on.
year?
Yeah, I do. I believe he will end up on the injured reserve. I hope I'm wrong because I would love to have Blake Bell on this roster.
He can go
I
on
think
the
teams
IR and
better
still
without
come
him.
back.
Well, no, before the season.
Oh,
if you
yeah,
don't
well,
make
yeah.
the 53-man roster and go on the IR like Justin Ross,
Yeah.
Justin Ross went on the IR. He's out for the year.
Okay.
This is where my whole running back.
Yeah, so
thing
I want to
came
hear
in.
this.
Yeah.
So I think it's without question. We know Travis Kelce's making the roster. Obviously, Jody Fortson is 100%. Yeah, no, controversial, guys. I put a hot take. Do the the hot take alarm.
He's
whatever.
earned it, yeah.
I think Travis Kelce's really proven himself this offseason.
the
Him and Isaiah
preseason.
Pacheco, they're like neck and neck.
Yeah, what he did in the preseason is pretty much solidified him there.
Jody Fortson, I think, without question, is going to make this roster. I think he's going to make some big impact this year. And I think Noah Gray is an unsung hero. I think Noah Gray is actually a guy that the Chiefs are high on, and I think a lot of fans are high on,
I'm
but
a
he doesn't
fan.
get that publicity. Because when you're on Travis Kelce's team, it's Travis Kelce and everybody else. But Jody Fortson's also like the spectacle, 6'6", just freak athlete that's going to go up there and catch balls from 15 feet in the air. Noah Gray's going to be one of those consistent pieces, which is why I think also the Chiefs feel confident of not having that 4th tight end in Blake Bell this year, because I think Noah Gray's going to fill some of that. Blake Bell's obviously a better pass blocker and a run
Yes,
blocker.
that's why
he's on this roster.
Yeah.
But I think Noah Gray's going to make some impact in the special teams and in those types of plays. Need him to be that extra chip piece, that extra guy that gives that extra bump, give Patrick Mahomes that extra second, that split second. I think that's why Noah Gray's going to be on this team, and I think they hold on to 3 tight ends. I don't think we see Blake Bell this year. That's unfortunate. I hope I'm wrong, but as it currently stands, when he got his surgery, I think he's going to miss the majority of the year. Therefore, they don't keep him on the 53-man roster. Pete Sweeney from Arrowhead Pride believes he will make this roster. They'll keep him on the roster whenever he comes back. He'll come back.
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing the Chiefs are going to utilize a roster spot on a guy that's going to miss the first 12 weeks of the season. I just don't think that's possible. If Blake Bell was more of a pivotal piece, or if let's say it was Travis Kelce that had this hip surgery, obviously they're going to keep him on the roster because when he gets back from week 12, I think they're like, oh, we'll get Travis Kelce back. That's cool. Blake Bell's not a big time receiving option. He's a good blocker, but I think he's a replaceable piece by a unit effort. I think that Jody Fortson and Noah Gray can fill that role just a little bit, and I think that's why they keep 3 tight ends. Trevor, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, if we're gonna talk about the running backs the way we did with some of the untrustworthy and injury prone guys, we got to talk about Jody Fortson possibly being an injury prone guy too, because I know it was a freak. It was an Achilles last year, so I
Very hard injury to come back.
right. So I mean, we got to kind of temper our expectations. Great, he's looked
Yeah,
great,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I love him. I'm a big
Absolutely.
fan, but there is a chance he could.
Go down.
It could go down again. Something else could
Travis will
happen.
be 33 in October.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall. He's a big guy. If he gets hit low, anything can happen, right? So I think Noah Gray's a lock. I think Travis Kelce's a lock. I think Jody Fortson. I think those 3 guys are locks. I think those are the 3 locked tight ends. Yeah. And then what's his name going down with the
Bell.
clavicle?
Bushman.
So that's another guy that's out of the rotation.
That would have been cool to see him get an opportunity.
I know it's preseason, but he was impressive. I'm a big tight end. That's my favorite position. I love watching the tight ends. He was impressive. I'm just going to throw it out there. He might have a future on this team, in the later on years, maybe, or whatever. But he was fun to watch. But, yeah, Blake Bell going down. Is it really going to take 12 weeks?
That's what it was like. Hip surgeries. They said hip surgeries usually take 10 to 12 weeks.
They said 4 to 6 weeks, I think.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
on the optimistic end. Okay. That's on the optimistic end.
Which I think everything is pointing towards that way.
And I'm hoping that's the case. Because if that's the case, then I want to see him make this roster.
I feel like Blake Bell's one of those glue guys in this team, though. And he's not only been a great blocker for this team, I think he will be back this year.
Yes. I hope so.
I think he will be back this year because I think Andy Reid, like I said, trust for Andy Reid is huge, man. And I think he's been big in big moments. He's caught unpredictable touchdowns and little shuffle passes. He's been a guy that's scored on some plays in the red zone that no one really expected because everyone expects him to block. And he has that trust from Patrick Mahomes to catch those shovel passes just like Travis Kelce does. Obviously, he's not the scoring and the shifty kind of guy, the route running kind of guy that Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, and Jody Fortson are. But he is that big, burly blocker guy, which is a very important because I don't think Noah Gray's the greatest blocker. I don't think Jody Fortson's proven to be a great blocker. He's more of a scoring, ball catcher. And Travis Kelce can do it all. Travis Kelce is a great blocker, and he's just too smart. He knows football too well. Right. So I think Blake Bell will be back this year. I don't think it's going to take as long as we're thinking it is. I think that was more of a cleanup surgery from when I'm ready. It wasn't a major surgery. Yeah. So he's just one of those guys I think that Andy Reid trusts, and I think he wants on this roster. If Andy Reid wants you on this roster, you're going to be back at some point. And I think, like I said, I think he's been important. He's been involved in a lot of big plays and playoff games and big games during the regular season. And I think we need those guys, many guys on this team that know this offense, know the scheme. He's never been a guy that really screwed up in big moments. He's always been a guy that kind of knows what he's doing and does his job. Regardless, a lot of those guys that you don't really see in the big moments or in the trenches, Blake Bell is one of those guys, right? Throwing a good block for the run, blocking downfield for a running back or a receiver. Those small things like that is what makes this game flow. And I think he's a very important guy with his experience and ironically, his ability to stay healthy. So that's he's kind of got the injury bug right now. So I think he will be back at some point this year. Do I know when? I'd say probably towards mid-season is when he'll probably be back. But I'm saying I think we just got to be. I don't know how they're going to manage to keep him on this roster. I know you think because they're going to sacrifice one of the running backs to keep him on this roster, which is definitely possible. I'm not going to act like that's not possible because I think he's got the respect and the trust of Andy Reid, and I think that's all that matters on this team. So I think Blake Bell will be on this roster.
Yeah, and like Trevor said, like Trevor mentioned, yes, I think the Chiefs are sacrificing one of the running backs in order to keep Blake Bell in this team in the 53-man roster for the simple fact that they don't want to put him in the IR before the cuts.
Yeah.
Because then that'll mean he'll miss the whole season. And I don't think the Chiefs want that. I think the Chiefs want to bring him back whenever he's healthy. But I think
it's the belldozer, man.
And I think let's say he's out for 3 months. The perfect timing for him to finish up the season coming into the playoffs, which the Chiefs are going to obviously definitely need him. So I think him being out for the season is not what the Chiefs need at this moment in time. So I think him making the 53-man roster by sacrificing one of the running backs is what the Chiefs are going to do. I'm
going to be honest with you guys. I just from everything I'm reading, I'm going to have to disagree. I don't think Blake Bell's making this roster because of the fact that everything. So the Associated Press from ESPN came out on the 23rd of this month with an article in regards to Blake Bell's injury and how it was quoted as an unusual hip flexor injury. And according to Andy Reid himself, he's saying that he doesn't expect Blake Bell back quickly at all.
Well, unusual doesn't mean significant.
And then when they asked him, if because his quote was, "I don't think it's going to be real quick," when in regards to him returning to the field, Andy was non-committal about whether they would put him on the injured reserve or not. But he did say in a quote, "We're kind of throwing some things around." So whenever Andy Reid gets a little non-committal about stuff, that always makes me a little worried. Because remember back in the Eric Berry days, and they were like, "Oh, he's day to day, he's day to day," and he missed the first 13, 14 weeks of the year.
Yeah,
that's what I'm concerned about. I think that he wants to be non-committal about it because he wants to continue to make Blake Bell feel confident about his, getting better and recovering and things of that nature.
Because he wants him here.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I want him here. I want Blake Bell on this roster. My problem though is that if he's not healthy enough to start the year, you need to make some hard decisions, and that's what I'm talking about. I think these are going to be one of those hard decisions where you're like, we're going to put you on the injured reserve. You're 31 years old now. Are you the best option for our team moving forward? Are you going to be on this team in 10 weeks? If you're not here in 10 weeks, are we going to utilize a roster spot on you? Or with all these other cuts going down across the league, maybe there's a tight end out there that we're big on. We'll bring him in and have him replace Blake Bell this year. He's a blocking type tight end, whoever it is out there. I'm just speculating right now. But there will be a name out there that the Chiefs could potentially go after. So that's why I think that right now, as it currently stands, if I had to make my bet, it's Blake Bell not making the roster.
So I'm reading, it says minor hip flexor injuries take around 2 to 3 weeks. More significant tears or whatever to the 6 weeks. Severe cases can take up to 8 weeks to heal. So it's not 3 months, 2 months, and coming back halfway through the season.
So he'll be back by week 4. Cool.
Yeah, that would be.
God,
perfect.
I would love that.
That would be perfect timing, But if everything goes well with whatever happened, if his recovery time is as scheduled, I think he could be back by halfway through the season.
Well, listen, man. If anything we can do with this situation, it sucks that he's hurt. This is a call to Noah Gray and Jody Fortson to step their game up, to be a better blocker, to be a more of a to accumulate the knowledge of this offense and show out. Especially Noah Gray. This is Noah Gray's second year in the system. You know what I mean?
This is his third year.
Third year in the system, yeah. So this is his third year in the system. Noah Gray's got to go out there and show what he can do. He's got to go out there and be a guy that does everything that calls upon, be a good blocker, help in the run blocking scheme, help block downfield for the speedy receivers, be that guy, that do-it-all guy, catch the damn ball, don't drop the ball. I think Noah Gray this is a good chance here for Noah Gray to kind of show his ability, especially if we go out there and run some 3 tight end sets. Which will happen. I look at this as an opportunity for Noah Gray to grow and to be a possible guy for the future of this offense, and I think that's an exciting thing to look for.
His second year. Yeah, you're right.
So
I got drafted last year.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
2021 fifth overall, fifth
it's
round
all
pick,
blurred to me,
181st overall.
Right.
I want to, because I know those are the positions that I wanted to get your guys' opinions on directly, but I have obviously my predictions across the board. I wanted to go down this list, and you guys can stop me if you disagree or if you have somebody else that you think should be added to this. But when it comes to the offensive line, I believe this is the best offensive line in football. I think that the Chiefs have the best starting 5 offensive line in football. Yeah. There's others out there like the Eagles and Colts and teams like that are comparable. I think the Chiefs right now have the best. I know that Orlando Brown Jr., Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Pancake, Papa Smith, and Andrew Wiley will be making this roster without question. Those are going to be your starting 5 going into week 1. Where it gets interesting, though, is that I think a lot of people are anticipating the Chiefs are only going to keep 3 other offensive linemen and back of that. I'm actually going to say they're getting 4.
Okay.
And there's a reason why. Maybe it's a little bit of a bias, but I have a belief in one of these guys that I've been high on all offseason. So obviously Nick Allegretti is going to make this team. I think he'll either back up because he can play swing tackle and he can play guard.
He's been here.
He also can play center, too. Yeah. He's very versatile, and they want to keep him. Jerron Christian's made a lot of impact in this preseason. I think Jerron Christian, coming from the Texans,
big kid, man.
Young dude, very, very big. I think that he's made impact, and I think the Chiefs are very impressed with him, and I think that he's for sure making this team. Where it gets interesting, though, is I think that there can be a decision being made between Prince Tega Wanogho, or Nogo, however you say his last name, and then obviously Darian Kennard. A lot of people don't believe Darian Kennard is going to make this roster. I actually do believe he's going to make this roster because I do believe he's got the talent and skill set as real football starts to commence. He can be a guy that come in here and surprise some people. I think he's one of those dudes that may not look as great in practice and in preseason, but shows up when games matter. I have to believe the guy he was in college is who he truly is, not the guy in preseason that's been out there playing in the fourth quarter in preseason games. I think Darian Kennard is a guy that I would like to see the Chiefs keep on their roster, and I think that it does not hurt anybody or anything for you to have an additional offensive lineman on this team. We all know this team only goes as far as Patrick Mahomes goes, and if Patrick Mahomes is healthy, the Chiefs are going to be in contention each and every year. So I want to see them stack the offensive line room as much as possible with as much talent as possible. I know there's a name out there that people were thinking maybe will make the team because he's been on the team for a while, was Austin Reiter. Mm-hmm. The problem with Austin Reiter is when he first came to this team, this offensive line wasn't nearly as skilled, especially in the guard and center position, as it is now. when he first came here, Joe Thuney wasn't on the team. Trey Pancake, Papa Smith wasn't there. Right. Obviously, Creed Humphrey wasn't here. So I can't imagine that Reiter has a real spot on this team, especially when Nick Allegretti, in my opinion, is the better player now. Yeah. And I believe that Jerron Christian's a guy, and Jerron Christian adding another tackle and Prince Tega Wanogho and Darian Kennard in my scenario making the team, there really isn't a spot for Austin Reiter, especially being a 31-year-old at this point. I think his best years are behind him, and I just think that he's not a guy that's going to make this roster as it's currently constructed. Is there anything you guys have an issue with when it comes to those names?
I don't know, man. Like I liked the Kennard addition. I liked that draft pick. I liked the prospect. I think he's a project right now, though.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any trust there yet. I don't think there's any. From most of the reports I've heard haven't been very good about him so far, and his film hasn't been very good in the preseason so far. And I hate that too because I love the kid, but
yeah,
at the same time, I mean, I just want the best guy in the field at that position. As far as depth goes, I want whoever I trust the Chiefs to make the decision who they think is better. Kennard is definitely a personality, a big force. That's something you can build upon. He just needs to learn. Supposedly his skill sets is kind of lacking. He's kind of lacking,
It's been a hard transition.
The technicalities, and and he's listed as a right tackle, not a left tackle. And Prince is listed as a left tackle. Take that for whatever it is, but both those guys can probably play both positions, I'm sure. So having depth at the tackle positions is huge, especially with you have the best quarterback in the league. You want depth at those positions to protect your product. I hope he makes, and then Lucas Niang's probably going to be on the.
He'll be on the PUP,
right?
So that doesn't go against your roster. That he won't be on the active roster. He'll be on the PUP list, which means he'll miss the first 7 to 8 games of the season.
Yeah,
and then he can, if he's healthy enough, he can come back. Lucas Niang would be a great name to add back to this offensive line because when he's back, you guys saw what he was last year when he was playing. He was very effective right tackle. He beat Andrew Wiley out. He won the position, so he would be the best right tackle.
He's just got to stay upright.
He's
just got to stay upright, man. And
that's the problem.
That's unfortunate. I hate that. I hate that that's a thing right now because I've really wanted to see that kid. And we've always, when we brought him over, we were getting raving reviews from a lot of other players from his team and people that played against him. Chase Young, guys like that. We're saying he's the toughest guy I ever played against, and that's a lot of praise. So he's got potential. He's got potential to be there, man. But I'm rooting for Kennard. I would like to see him get mentioned on this roster. That'd be awesome to see for the kid. A good boost in his confidence. He already seems like a confident guy, but just to have that extra boost for him to be a part of this team and this run that we're going to go on this year. I'm rooting for him, but I just want the best guy for the job. Period.
Same. I do think Kennard's more of a project at this point. I think what we've seen so far from him is he's steps miles away from being NFL ready. I think, in my opinion, I think he makes maybe the practice squad kind of build up from that. Which I think he could potentially become a better player, obviously throughout the seasons and as time goes on. But as of right now, what we've seen so far hasn't been great. Obviously, the transition has really hit him. He hasn't adapted as a lot of us would have thought. You thought he was going to be a starter going into week 1. Obviously, that's more than likely not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm with Trevor on this. I think whatever the Chiefs pick as the better player, I'm happy. Whoever they think is just the better right tackle, left tackle, center, whatever they want to bring in, right guard, left guard.
And if we're all being honest, like our second and third team O-line has not looked good in this preseason so far.
Yeah.
Our ones have looked great. I don't like the run blocking. The run blocking hasn't looked very good in this preseason, but that doesn't really give me much pause. I think they were great last year run blocking. So, the 2s and 3s just have not looked good. So this depth is a little shaky, if I'm being honest. But our starting, I agree with you. I think we're the best starting O-line, but
which is why I'm big on having depth.
Right.
And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility the Chiefs go out there and, like, with these cuts going on across the league, that they bring another guy in that's like, hey, this dude will fit this offensive line very well. Let's bring him in. I think that's actually a very realistic scenario, which would obviously knock Darian Kennard off the list. Mm-hmm. But if I'm going off just based of what I know right now, the sure things of what we have on this roster, I'd like to see Darian Kennard make this roster because I'm not giving up on him yet.
Yeah.
I think the guy's extremely talented, and I like talent because when you have a coaching staff like the Chiefs do, I like to believe they can get as much out of these players, as raw as they may be.
Yeah.
Because Leo Chenal right now is in that regard. I think Leo Chenal is a guy that's super raw, been playing a lot with the backups. He has played with some with the first string in the last 2 preseason games, but it's been very spotty. So I think the Chiefs are tinkering with him. I'd like to see them do that a little bit with Derek Kennard. Andrew Wiley's going to be the starter.
We hit so good on our picks last year in the O-line. We can expect that to be every year. I mean, granted, we took him late, but he was looked at as one of the kind of steals of the draft. So that gives him high praise from the jump. So we kind of had high expectations.
And then we have a comment from Noah
Groniger.
When we were talking about tight ends, he said Bell can make the 53, then go on IR designated to return.
Yeah.
Which I think will free up a
spot.
Yeah. Which maybe the 4th running back could come in.
I fully believe he'll be here at some point this year.
Yeah, Blake Bell is making the 53-man roster, in my opinion.
I hope that's true. Hey, I'm on Team Blake Bell.
You hate Blake Bell.
This team's better with him, much better with him. I hope he makes the roster. Just a few other positions that I want to go down. I think this is one of the more agreed upon positions of defensive tackles. I think Chris Jones, Derek Nottie, Tershawn Wharton, Danny Shelton, and I know, controversial. I know. Danny Shelton will make this roster. I do believe Colin Saunders did enough in the preseason to make this team. I know that other guys like Stallworth,
I'm a fan.
They tried to, they did their best and everything like that. But I think this is the best 5-man crew at defensive tackle. I don't know if you guys disagree at all, but I think that Chris Jones, Derek Nottie, Tershawn Wharton, Danny Shelton, and Colin Saunders are the
That's
best.
the squad right there.
Yeah. Defensive end. I think this is another.
Yeah.
I think this is another position group that's pretty locked down. Nice, naughty by nature. Defensive end group, I think, is going to be very locked down as well. George Karlaftis, Carlos Dunlap, Frank Clark, Mike Dana, and Malik Herring. I know that people wanted to see Joshua Kando make this team.
He hasn't done
Problem
enough,
with Joshua
man.
Kando, he's done literally nothing.
Yeah.
He's done nothing of there's been no newsworthy.
Another project guy.
Another
for
project
being
guy.
honest.
4th round pick out of Florida
Freak
State.
athlete.
I
Yeah.
liked his talent. It just hasn't popped yet.
Yeah.
In these 2 years, I haven't seen enough, man. He was on the roster last season, didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I think Malik Herring has a little bit more of an upside on his side of things. I don't expect much from Malik Herring, but I think for sure those are the guys that I would have in the defensive end positional group. I don't know if you have anybody else.
With the uncertainty of as much as this sucks, the uncertainty of Carlos Dunlap right now. Yeah. We don't know. He's dealing with Achilles tenderness, and that's a spooky thing. Anything reported when it's an Achilles, even if it's a positive report, hey, his Achilles is doing great. Why are we talking about his Achilles?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We hate like those conversations.
It's kind of like what I told Lance. I don't know if I said it on the group text or whatnot, but I was like, this kind of reminds me of that Kevin Durant kind of injury where they put him away.
see
They were
it
like,
coming.
yeah, they were like, his Achilles, a little bit tender. He's feeling a little bit tightness there.
I know, man.
And
It's
he
spooky.
came back that first game just
Yeah,
snapped it right off.
it is nerve-wracking.
So-
I won't sit here and pretend as if I'm not sitting here a little
As an aging
suspicious
player.
about all that. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's 32 years old.
So I mean, if
It's
we're
worrisome.
gonna keep another extra roster, it could be in the defensive end.
Well, I think what's going to happen is if Carlos Dunlap was to go down with a severe injury, the Chiefs are signing somebody out that has been cut.
there's going to be a lot of guys freed up on the other teams that are probably much better.
But the
than
problem is
Kando.
you're not going to find just another Carlos Dunlap sitting out there.
Well, we can find a guy that's better than Kando, though.
I do 100% believe. Yeah,
So
Kane.
that's one of
Malik
my biggest
Herring will go down the
concerns.
list a little bit because whoever they sign is going to be a guy that's actually going to be a rotational piece.
Yeah.
I think Malik Herring is a depth piece right now, but that's all he really is.
Because
He's not
Dunlap
going to be a guy
hasn't,
that's going to be on
Dunlap
there
hasn't been
getting.
getting any reps at all.
Right.
He's been doing some things at practice and stuff like that, but like there hasn't been any. He hasn't been on the field at any preseason games at any time. His Achilles is sore, tender, whatever.
Yeah.
That's spooky, man. A guy that's going into his mid-30s and has been a great player his whole career. It's just this just feels like a bad timing type of. I hope he's okay. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see that. I really
My
don't.
linebacking core, as it currently is constructed, I think it's without say Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, Elijah Lee will make the team, and I have Leo Chenal and Darius Harris finishing out the 5-man crew, the linebacking crew. Do you guys have any issues with that at all? Okay. Cornerback positions, I think this is one of the more fun positions to fill because I think that the fringe guys are it's kind of like wide receiver and running back where you can have a debate at that back end of things, but I think that obviously the safe guys that will be making the quarterback crew is going to be L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie, Rashad Fenton. I think those are without question guys that will make this roster. I think Joshua Williams, even though he's been a little up and down as a rookie corner in preseason, I think this dude is extremely talented, and I think Steve Spagnuolo really likes his size and ability to get downfield quick with these wide receivers.
Yeah.
I think Joshua Williams does make this team. A guy that I'm actually really high on, and I think that he has some really good potential moving forward that could be a surprise get for the Chiefs is Jalen Watson. I think Jalen Watson is a dude that is going to be this is high praise here, so just hear me out for a second. I think he could kind of surprise people kind of like Rashad Fenton did when he first started. Remember when Rashad Fenton was this relatively unknown player that no one really had any idea where he came from?
Yeah.
Why the Chiefs drafted him.
But he had the attitude of a starter.
Hey,
Like,
and then Jalen Watson's one of these dudes that I think could really just spark something in this defense and bring some grit, bring some talent. He's a dude that I call a battler.
Yeah.
I saw him in that Bears game. They were picking on him, and he was out there just battling, breaking up passes, making it difficult for whoever he had at man coverage. I think Jalen Watson can be one of those guys that makes this team and will be really good on special teams. And the final guy on my list that I think makes this team specifically for special teams is Chris Lamont.
Yes.
I think Chris Lamont is 100% making this team. I absolutely loved
Talk
what I
about
saw
effort
from him
guy. Yeah.
against the second game of the preseason.
Yes,
Was
that pick.
Commanders.
Commanders, thank you. Against the Commanders, when he had that little pick, almost ran it back to the house,
Yes.
and multiple passes deflected.
He looked
made
like he
several
belonged
times. I think he
there.
led the team in tackles in the
Yeah.
game. I really like Lamons on this team. I know there was a debate Shaggy and I were having, Shaggy Shane and I, about whether it's Lamb or Lamons. From everything I know, it's Lamons.
It's Lamons.
So I'm going with Lamons,
Yeah.
but maybe our guy Shaggy
Lemon
Shane's
sounds
right.
cool,
Either
though.
way, lemons, lemons, tomato, tomato. He's making the team. I think he finalized it. You guys have any issue with that
No,
list?
yeah, I was hoping he mentioned Lamont because I just from watching the preseason and what I've heard about him at camp and things like that. He's just one of those guys that's just a gritty dude as well. You kind of have to be. I think that's the toughest position on football is to be a cornerback in today's league, especially. I think you got to be as resilient as possible to be even fairly good at that position. So having this young, gritty depth on the cornerback room, it's just music to my ear, man. I love all these guys fighting for a spot. That's what you want. So I love all these young guys like Watson and Lamont and even Joshua Williams, guys like that. Just having that youth and speed and aggression from what I've seen from those guys has just been impressive. And I do think I think Lamont is on this roster in special teams at least, and it has a chance if someone goes down in that room to go out there and play. That's starting or even the rotational position on that cornerback spot. So,
and then at the safety position, I think the Chiefs are going to keep 4. I think they keep 4 safeties on this team.
This is a fun room
and
right here.
The fourth and final one is going to be the interesting one. So obviously, Justin Reed and Juan Thornhill are 100% making this team. Yes. Brian Cook is 100% making this team. This kid has flourished in preseason. I got to give Jordan Love some credit. He hit Brian Cook in stride on that interception. Yeah. I mean, they made a nice little route, little cut to the middle, and Jordan Love just hit. It looked like they were teammates. That was a great pass and catch from Jordan Love and Brian Cook. I think they got really good chemistry. I think moving forward, Jordan Love and Brian Cook have some great chemistry, and I think they can have a really good duo going. But Brian Cook, man, he's been very effective in special teams. He's been very effective on the defensive side of things.
Is a stud,
I'm big on Brian Cook. I think one of you guys mentioned him as your pop player for this year, the surprising player. If I'm not mistaken, it might have been you, Eddie, that said Brian Cook was going to be your guy. You might have been nails on that because I think Brian Cook's going to be an absolute stud.
As soon as I watched his tape when we drafted him, I was like, holy shit, this dude.
Yeah, and what's so exciting about this safety position is the fact that you see. I mean, so Justin Reed's 25. Juan Thornhill's 26. Brian Cook is 21. Deion Bush, the guy I have making this team, Bush, I think he's only 21 or 22. Mm-hmm. And see, why I love Deion Bush is because for everything that anybody that knows anything about this team has been saying, he is going to be that Armani Watts replacement and an upgrade. Yeah. I believe it was our guy Kent Swanson from KC Network, Kansas City Sports Network, was the one that said that first, where it's you see how he could be Armani Watts, but takes it to another level. And Armani Watts,
got better instincts.
Yeah, and he was a special team guy, like Dave Toub. He's a Dave Toub guy. Yeah. Well, I think that Deion Bush could be that upgrade. I think he's going to be that Dave Toub guy.
Like a DOD kind of guy.
Yeah, makes big plays in special teams. May not get a ton of plays on the defensive side of things unless it's a blowout or somebody gets injured.
Yeah.
But I think that he's going to be one of those dudes that makes the big tackles, maybe forces a fumble here and there on special teams, and he's going to make this roster for sure. So I don't know if you guys have any issues with that or anybody that you wanted to see.
I just want to say
Caprio Boodle, maybe it's the defensive backs.
I love Juan Thornhill, but prepare for the Bash Brothers and Brian Cook and Justin Reed. Those guys, I think, those two guys, just because I think Juan Thornhill is a guy that makes plays, but these two guys, Justin Reed and Brian Cook, are two guys that like to take the soul out of people. Yeah. These guys, you watch their film, these guys crack. Yeah.
Big guys, physical safeties.
If you're in the region, that ball's in the air, they're going to lay your ass out and get that ball. Yeah. These guys are playmakers. These guys play aggressive. These guys, I think, are going to be... I think these guys are going to set the tone for this defense. I know we got Chris Jones. I know we got guys like that. I know we got Mike. We got Bolton. We got a lot of Chanel guys like that are going to be in the rotation and they're mouthy aggressive guys. But I think these two guys, the way that Aries to kind of set the tone in that backfield and make plays back there and crack the shit out of guys, I think we're gonna see a lot of good film this year on these guys making plays back there, and I'm excited about it.
And what I loved about what came out of camp is the way Juan Thornhill stepped up after losing Tyrann Mathieu. Everybody's praising him that he became that vocal leader.
He's got to be, yeah.
That everybody saw a difference in Juan Thornhill. That he became that leader. He became that voice that the safeties obviously needed. And I love hearing that from Juan Thornhill because this is it for him. I think, in my opinion, this is it.
Yeah,
it's either make it or break it. So I think him taking that step, we're gonna see a totally different Juan Thornhill, a motivated Juan Thornhill, a vocal leader,
healthy Juan Thornhill.
Yeah, so I can't wait for this season. I can't wait to see Juan Thornhill.
I love.
Think about all the motivating factors for Juan Thornhill in particular, because like Trevor just talked about the Bash Brothers. These guys are gonna be the ones that are getting all the attention, all the love, all the praise, and Juan's sitting here going, hold the fuck up. I've been here longer than any of you guys. Mm-hmm. I'm the veteran here, and like you just said, Eddie. He's trying to get paid.
Listen, man.
This is this prove-it deal, prove-it year. And we all know this is probably likely his final year with the Chiefs. He's going to go out there, and I think he wants to make a point, and I think he wants to show that he's still the best safety on this team. Is he? It's debatable. but I think that he wants to go out there and prove that he is. Yeah. And that is always a good thing for a team when they have 3 or 4 guys in the back of their defense that are trying to go out there and prove their worth, because Brian Cook is a rookie that's trying to go out there and show he's now the man. Yep. Justin Reed just got himself a new contract with the Chiefs, all in on the Chiefs. He loves being here in Kansas City, wants to go out there and prove that he's the man. And then Juan Thornhill being that guy that, again, has been the longest tenured dude on this in the safety core, wants to go out there and prove that he can either make money here in Kansas City or make money elsewhere and get that fat check.
Well, listen, man, you can be motivated all you want, but this game is unforgiving, right? This game it will move on with or without you. You know what I mean? So Juan Thornhill, if he wants to go out there and be that guy, go be that guy. But we're going to need you healthy. We're going to need you available. We're going to need you actually going out there and making plays. And I think Justin Reed right now in my mind is the best, safest team. I just do, from what I've seen, what I know of him so far. This is Juan Thornhill's, like you said, his last chance to really make a name for himself, whether and moving forward in his career, whether it's with the Chiefs or another team. Mm-hmm. I love Juan Thornhill. I've always wanted him to succeed in this team and be a part of this, this team moving forward and defensively. So I hope the best. I hope we get the best Juan Thornhill, but I think he's still got some things to prove, and this is his best opportunity to do so. But this game is unforgiving, man. So just give him the best. That's all I'm asking for.
That's good stuff, guys. I think obviously I don't know if we really have to address who the punters and kickers are unless Justin Reed beats out Harrison Butker. You know, I just don't. There was a bet that the over under 0.5 points scored by Justin Reed from the PATs. I think you have to hammer the over.
Yeah.
I think Justin Reed is 100% going to get a couple.
Oh, for blowing somebody out.
I don't think he just gets one. I think he gets multiple. I think that you're going to see, because the Chiefs have some games in this schedule where they can blow somebody out.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you see Justin Reed go up there. Especially
how insulting would that be?
Because Andy Reid loves. You all know Andy. You all know how Andy does things, bro. He loves doing shit like that. When Dontari Poe lined up, did bloated pig. When we've seen Travis Kelce do it in a playoff game as a quarterback, he's got more career touchdowns, throwing touchdowns in the playoffs than Derek Carr. Just wanted to throw that one in there.
Salt on the wound, bro.
I think Andy is a savage. He loves doing shit like that. He loves doing fun shit like that. I don't. He does this in preseason and the training camp and in preseason, unless he was going to do it in the regular season if the opportunity presented itself. Yeah. And who's to say some wild shit happens where Butker goes down with an injury for a week or something, as a strained calf.
Well, what's going to happen?
Like that.
What's going to happen is
Patrick Mahomes, I know it sounds nuts.
Patrick Mahomes is going to throw behind the back pass to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, in the flat, and he's going to score, and then Reed's going to kick the extra point. You know what I mean? So that's we're going to take care. We're going to do both of those things in the same sequence.
To disrespect the other teams, like. The other team should just quit and leave. It
says on the screen, your opponent has left the match. It's like Xbox Live. Yeah, your opponent has left the match.
The sidelines waving white flags like, Jesus Christ.
Throw damn tap!
Yeah. Jeez.
All right, well, that is our wrap-up of where I see the 53-man roster currently sitting. I could be very much wrong on a lot of these areas, and again, I want to make sure I emphasize the fact that I hope Blake Bell makes this roster, because I think this roster is better with him than without him. I hope Ronald Jones makes this roster, because I believe he makes the 53-man roster that much better. He's a reliable running back, and I want to see that in the backfield with Patrick Mahomes. I want to see them utilize the running back position better and at a higher clip than they have in the past. I think with Tyreek Hill being gone, that will be the reality, and I think the Chiefs are extremely deep at wide receiver, unlike they have been in the last 4 years, and I'm really excited to see how Patrick Mahomes picks his teeth with these defenses, with all these weapons, man. I'm really excited to see that, but we need to move on for a moment in time, because we have the Eddie Hour ready to go. Eddie, what is in the Eddie Hour this week, my man?
All right, man. Well, one of our comments here from Anthony Mr. T, who is y'all breakout player that's not a big name for y'all? We kind of went over this before, but I don't think he was here for us when we said who was going to be our backup player for the year.
I think if I'm looking at it right now, I think it's going to be one of either the running backs or the wide receivers. I think Justin Watson has an opportunity to be that type of guy because of what we've seen in preseason. And we all know that injuries always happen. We know that Juju right now has a sore knee. I don't think it's going to be anything serious. We know that McColl's already had a hamstring injury. So there could be some tea leaves into that where, obviously Justin Watson gets an opportunity later in the season to really shine and flourish. I think he's a name you want to bring up. And again, I want to hammer it home, man. I do believe that Ronald Jones, if he makes the roster, I think he could be that type of player where he makes that type of impact and really make a lasting impact. But again, I will stay consistent on the defensive side. I think a guy like Jalen Watson, I really do. I think Rashad Fenton and him there's a comparison there where nobody knew what Rashad Fenton can be, and then ends up last year graded out as one of the best corners in football. I think that Jalen Watson, a battler, a dude on this team that makes impact, because everyone's focusing on Brian Cook and Trent McDuffie and Joshua Williams and these other names out there that are young guys that are out here trying to make a name for themselves. And all of a sudden, a Jalen Watson Watson comes out of nowhere because we know, man, Brett Veach does this. Charvarius Ward, an undrafted guy he traded a backup center for, ends up becoming a starter for 4 years for the Chiefs and then got himself paid with the San Francisco 49ers. Every single year we see them do this. I think Jalen Watson can be next. So those are the notables I see out there right now. So it'll probably be somebody we don't even expect, even more than those guys. But those are my names.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to like talk about the offensive guys that could be a bright spot of this offense because everyone's kind of talked about, right? Sky Moore's like the fourth receiver on this team right now, third, fourth, and he's like being toted as like he's a number one. Like the hype behind this offense is so high, it's hard to like find a dark horse kind of guy that's gonna like pop off this year. I don't think you can really pick one that's not already talked about ad nauseum. But I think Sky Moore is that guy. I think he's the rookie. There's not a lot of pressure because he's coming in behind a lot of other guys that are already set in place and that are good receivers in this team. I think Juju's going to be absolutely outstanding this year. I think Juju's going to have a career year possibly, at least pushing for his career year. That was it 2013 or 20. What year was that when he went off?
2018
or 2018.
Yeah.
I'm thinking way back. So, yeah, I think he could either match that or supersede his career year that he had in Pittsburgh. So I think Juju's going to have, barring health, can have a great year this year. But Sky Moore is that guy, that breakout guy for me. I think he's not only going to be a good returner, I think he's also going to be a guy that's going to make a lot of great plays in this offense and supersede what we expect even from him.
Can I throw another name in there? Because I know I'm like naming half the roster here, but I
mean, kind of just went over the whole roster.
But no, a guy that is not going to be in the stat column a lot this year, but I think is going to really help the defense in the run game is Danny Shelton. I think he could be an unsung hero because he literally looks like Professor Klump with a helmet on. I mean, he is so huge. He makes George Karlaftis look like a defensive back, and George Karlaftis is a very big man. So Danny Shelton is one of those guys I saw the Chiefs sign in the middle of training camp and go, yep, he's making the roster because you saw it as soon as he's in there when the 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s, he just clogs the lane.
Massive.
And we know one of the biggest problems this Chiefs defense has had for years now is rush defense.
Yeah.
And if you can have just that one piece that just slows it down a little bit and knocks you down, from being like the 25th best rush defense to the 17th, 18th.
Have him next to Chris
Jones.
Jones.
That is all the difference in the world. Oh my God, taking some of that off from Chris Jones, exactly. Taking some of that pressure off. We talk about how, taking the pressure off Travis Kelce is imperative. We talk about taking pressure off Jones is imperative. We have those guys in place. I think Danny Shelton is one of those guys as well. So I just want to throw
like
that
Don
name
Terry
out there
Poe
as well.
kind of guy.
Yes,
dude,
and
ironically, he was.
And ironically, where's number 92?
Yeah.
So watch for Danny Shelton as well.
Yeah, and defensively, I'm just going to go with George Karlaftis. That was the guy I picked to be the star for this defense this year. I have him leading the team in sacks. I know everyone, he's made his name known now that he's had 2 sacks in the preseason and a lot of QB pressure, so he's already kind of on note and everyone's on alert of him. There's no real dark horse. This team's been talked about, like I said, ad nauseum. A lot of excitement around a lot of these players, but George Karlaftis for sure defensively is my guy that I'm leading on this year.
All right, man, this next question, we've talked about this the past 2 episodes, but after recent events, like I want to ask, see if your thoughts has changed or whatnot. But as you guys know, OKC's second overall pick, Chet Holmgren, or however you say his name, I'm sorry. He is out for the season after getting hurt in a Pro-Am game in Seattle. Thoughts?
It really sucks because I know that injuries can't be avoided. I have such a pet peeve when it comes to injuries in games that don't matter. I know they happen at any time, any place, anywhere. I get it. Yeah. But see, practice is relevant because that's something you have to do. So if you get injured in practice, it's okay. I'm not going to get mad at the team or I'm not going to get mad at the player because practice is relevant to what you're doing in your profession. Mm-hmm. Same with games, obviously, because in games it happens and it's relevant. In pro-ams and in exhibition games and preseason and stuff like that, like to me those games are irrelevant in a large majority of the time. So those injuries in particular frustrate me because Chet to me should have not been playing that game. And ironically, he suffered that injury when guarding LeBron, who should not be playing that game either, especially in his prolonged age. It was a non-contact thing. It's a freak thing. Yep. So I understand that, but I'm saying the relevance of the situation wasn't there for Chet, who was the number 2 overall pick, and the Thunder were very much looking forward to having him this year because he had Rookie of the Year potential.
Of course.
He obviously is a star that can draw crowds, and now you're not getting that. And again, if it would have happened in practice, okay, you can't avoid it. You know what you can't avoid? Pro-Ams. And I would have liked to see him not playing Pro-Ams. That's just my opinion. I know that's a very unpopular opinion because we love seeing our stars play at all times, but I'm here to protect stars. I'm here to protect my assets. I'm here to protect the guys that are going to push my franchise forward, and if that means them not playing in Pro-Ams, I'm all for that. That's just my stance on it, and I feel that that's the way that it should go. But it's just not, because these guys are going to continue to play. Like we talked about last week, it's a star-driven league in the NBA in particular, and the stars tell these teams essentially what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. And Chet wanted to play in this game, and now he paid the price for it. It sucks. It's a freak thing, but it happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem. I mean, it sucks. It's definitely unfortunate, and it sucks with OKC fans that he's going to miss his rookie season. I don't have. I mean, if these guys want to play basketball, this is their sport. This is what they do. This could vary. That injury, at least Frank fracture, could happen. He can be walking down the street and go down some steps to the subway or wherever he wants to go, and it can happen. So I mean, just landing awkwardly on that foot, it can happen anywhere, especially for a guy of his size and height, and how lanky he is, and he's prone to have something like that. Anybody can happen. That can happen to anybody. So I just think I don't have a problem with these guys playing these games. I mean, as long as they're playing their sport, it's no different than playing a scrimmage or a preseason game leading into the season. We can talk about if you want your stars playing in preseason games either too. That's a discussion as well. But listen, man, these guys are going to play their sport. They're playing pickup games regardless. These guys are playing basketball all during the offseason regardless if it's in a pro-am or not. These guys are playing basketball somewhere. So trying to make this a frowned upon thing where they shouldn't be playing their sport is just kind of ludicrous to me. I think these guys are going to play. If something happens, it sucks, but that's a part of the sport. These guys are always playing basketball, regardless if it's filmed or not.
My follow-up question to that, saying they're playing their profession. So would you be okay if Patrick Mahomes played in a pickup game in a summer league or whatever?
He's always playing football.
No, like tackle football.
Why would? That's with football, and that's a little bit different. Football is an extremely aggressive sport. I wouldn't want Patrick Mahomes wouldn't want Patrick Mahomes taking shots during the preseason games, right? But if he's out there playing pickup football and it's like two-hand touch, of course, like these pro-am games are not like they're going at it like it's like a legit like NBA. These guys are when LeBron's driving lane, kind of everyone gets out of the way and lets him finish his dunk. It's like watching an All-Star game. These All-Star games are not going full on like it's not like a super aggressive style of the game. Like this, it's more like those pro-am games are more like scrimmages. These guys are gonna be like I said, these guys are playing pickup basketball. LeBron's playing basketball at his own house, at his own basketball court at his house with his sons and stuff. He could roll his ankle, anything can happen at any time. These guys are always playing basketball. Patrick Mahomes is always training football. You've seen the intense training he's doing. At any time his Achilles could snap. At any time he could roll his ankle. At any time he could fall and sprain his wrist. These guys are always training. As long as it's a part of their sport and they're training for their professional sport, who am I to tell them they shouldn't be doing that? That's silly to me. I just think that's something that this is what they do. This is how they keep their body in shape. This is how they keep that muscle memory intact. This is how they continue to improve their skill set. It's their sport. If he was Chet out there playing pickup football and he got tackled and catching a reception or something, that's completely unacceptable. Just like when Patrick Mahomes got reamed for playing basketball when he was all doing his crossover and driving to the rack and stuff. That I don't want to see Patrick Mahomes doing that because that's not his sport. That's not him practicing. That's not improving his game at all. So I think if it's within the realm of that sport and their profession, I don't have a problem with it, and I don't think anyone really should.
All right. Next question. Obviously, two number one quarterbacks have been announced. One for the Panthers and the other one for the Seattle Seahawks. I want to get your thoughts on each one and what can they bring to each team.
Well, I've said very confident over the last year that I thought that Sam Darnold was the better talent between him and Baker Mayfield. That was before they ever became teammates. I still stand on that. The problem, though, is that talent doesn't always translate to the better player. And that's clearly Baker Mayfield to this point of their careers. Baker Mayfield is the better overall quarterback to this point than Sam Darnold is.
He's proven more, too.
Yeah, Sam Darnold is like 40th in most stats, and that's almost impossible seeing there are only 32 starting quarterbacks in the league. And he would rank 40th in this stat, 50th in this stat. So Sam's been awful. I will defend him in the fact that Sam's never played for a good team.
Right.
So that's kind of a disadvantage he's been at, whereas Baker Mayfield's played for a very good roster with the Browns for the last couple of seasons, and he's still faltered. And in the fact that Baker Mayfield has led the NFL in turnover, or interceptions rather, since he took over in 2018 as a rookie.
Darnold's a close second.
I don't blame the Panthers for doing this because, and to be honest with you, it fits pretty well with their offensive scheme because we do know that offense goes as far as Christian McCaffrey goes.
Conservative.
And we know that with the Browns, that offense only went as far as Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt went. So we know that these are more run-centric offenses that Matt Rule and Kevin Stefanski run because of the talent they have at running back and their offensive lines. Well, the Panthers' offensive line is getting better, but we knew the Browns' offensive line was insanely good. So Baker transitions a little bit better than Sam Darnold would, and I think that you don't have to really know the offense as well when you are a guy like Baker Mayfield that walks into an offense that, again, is run-centric. You just need to know the basic plays, and as the season goes on, you get more familiarized with the offense. And if you're wearing the little pad on your arm, you can just run the plays that you're comfortable with, and the offensive coordinator and the coaching staff will work with you on that. So I don't blame the Panthers for making this decision because Baker is the better quarterback as it currently stands. And again, this offense is more apt for his skill set than even for Sam Darnold's. And Sam Darnold went down with an injury, so I think it made it a little bit easier for them to transition, even though they made the announcement before Sam Darnold went. Yeah. But I'm saying, I just think that the situation's a lot more clear-cut now, obviously, with Baker Mayfield being the quarterback. When it comes to the other one was Seattle, thank you. So this is the worst quarterback situation in the entire league. And I'm a big Geno guy. I love Geno out of West Virginia. I was a big fan of him. I wanted to see the Chiefs take him with that first overall pick out of the 2012 first overall pick. They took Eric Fisher. I understand it, but I wanted Geno because I thought this guy was extremely talented. And there's a reason why he's still in the league. And I think he's now 30, if I'm not mistaken. It's so bad, though, because the Seahawks traded for Drew Lock and Noah Fant. They got Noah Fant out of that trade, which was a really good trade because Noah Fant's a good tight end. But Drew Lock, this was supposed to be his starting position. Coming over here, you thought, oh, he'll get it. Geno's the backup. He's this guy that's going to be like a journeyman that's going to have a 12, 13-year career, be a backup. Guy gets injured, he'll spot fill, and then Geno wins the damn job. So all I have to say about that is better luck next year, Drew, because I can't. How you don't win this job? Look, man, I know they know Geno better because he's been in this system for a couple years now. I get all that. But this was, it was a layup, man. If there was ever a job that he could win, it'd be Seattle's, and he couldn't win it. So, are we going to be doing hold this L right now? Because that's how I feel this segment's starting to go towards, because Drew Lock absolutely fumbled the bag on this one. And I'm happy for Geno at the same time, because I want to see him get a legitimate chance to play for a good coaching staff, because when he was a starter with the Jets back in the day, it was a joke of a franchise, still is a joke of a franchise. And I want to see Geno get an opportunity to play out there with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and a good running back core and just see what he can do. They're going to be probably a bad team this year, but it's cool to see Geno get an opportunity.
And I don't think I think there's still a chance that Geno could get benched and they could throw Lock in there at some point this year if Geno's really, really struggling, which is possible, but neither one of those guys are exciting to get up for your team. No one's if you ask any Seattle Seahawks fan, they're not like. I know a lot. There's actually a good sect of Seahawks fans that I know that I've seen that really want Locke to be the starter because he's a little more flashy and has that more arm talent downfield and has the big arm, whatever, which is true. He's definitely got more juice to his arm than Geno does. But Geno is just kind of like this veteran that kind of, will get the job. And he looked fairly well in spot starts last year. But yeah, as far as those two guys go, neither one of those gets the juices flowing. So. Geno got the job. It's his job as of now, but I do think there's the chance mid-season if there's a change at the quarterback position, Drew Lock gets his shot to start there, especially if they're 0 for their first few games of the season, which is definitely a possibility as well. And as far as Baker goes, I think Baker is the better quarterback between him and Darnold. Not by a long shot, but both those guys are turnover machines. I think Baker's just a slightly safer quarterback and has a little bit more better instincts as far as pocket goes. Darnold's pocket presence has been awful, and both of their decision making is trash. But I think Baker just kind of fits that mold better, more of like a safe guy that can run knows kind of when to run and evade pressure, and it has that. I think he's a little more stronger up top in the head as far as like his confidence in himself. Darnold's confidence in himself, and he looks shook too many times. And I think they need somebody as a confident leader, whether it's ignorantly confident and is very deluded at times, like Baker is. He thinks he's the star in this league that he's really not, but he still holds himself as such.
Yeah.
The illusion of that can still lead to confidence for your team, no matter if it's real or not. That kind of delusion can hype up a locker room and kind of change guys' attitude, whether you think it's placebo or not. Baker is still a very much a charismatic guy, so I think that can definitely help. Darnold's is kind of like the kind of guy, So, listen,
same dude. No.
If we're being honest, I think personality is a factor here in who they decided to go with. I really do believe that. And Baker's a marketable guy that could be good for this team. Bring some some swag to this team, if you will. But
it'd be hilarious if Matt Corral ends up being like the quarterback season.
Yeah, like that. Hey, Bouchel, man, he got shot. No, but I think, and then for all my fantasy football players out there, this stock is definitely dropping for the receivers on this team. He couldn't get it done with OBJ in Cleveland with that stacked team. He's not going to get it done with these guys, man. So, yeah, that's all I really got to say about that. Neither one of these teams are going to be good or exciting.
All right. Next question. Last question. Then I haven't much this week, unless you guys want to keep on adding.
Oh, this is you, baby. This is all you.
Can't wait on Lance on this one.
Oh, God. Here we go. Finalize it.
What are your thoughts on the whole Kevin Durant situation?
Look, man. That's a really good question for a lot of reasons. And the biggest reason is because of the fact that this to me shows, and it should show everybody, the difference between the cachet and overall star power. And I'm not trying to make this about LeBron, but I'm going to make it a little bit about LeBron James. This shows you the difference between these two, Kevin Durant and LeBron James. Because if you put LeBron in this exact same situation, let's say he had the same contract, same situation, and everything with the Nets, that trade happens. Because you can't allow LeBron James to be on your team with that type of frustration going on, because you saw the way and here's the difference, ultimately the difference between LeBron and KD, is that LeBron has never put himself in a position like this, where he goes and signs this long-term deal, leaves the better situation for a worse situation, and then demands a trade. LeBron has never demanded a trade in his entire 19-year career, and never will. Those two things are the ultimate factors between those two. So when people try to make these comparisons between the two, they stop there. Not to even mention the difference in just overall performance. Finals, regular season, postseason, whatever you want to call it, there is a difference there, and I can break all that down. But when it comes to just star power, cachet, demand, all those things, this is where it separates ultimately. For Kevin Durant, it's so confusing because there's a human element to him that I really do appreciate. Of all-star players, I'm talking about across the board, not just NBA, but across the board, where he's not afraid to be himself outwardly and openly. I do appreciate that. Because I like genuine, I like authentic. I like that from people, and I like that from star people that have such a humongous platform and such a light shined upon them. I love that. I much prefer that than guys like Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods who just kind of played this persona where we all knew it was very hokey and very fake, but they just did that to stay safe and to get the big deals and the big sponsorships and endorsements. I can appreciate that about Kevin Durant, but there's also an extreme to it. And that's the problem with Kevin Durant, is he always takes it to the extreme. He's out there chanting and chiving up with these dudes on Twitter that are, I hate to say it like this, but they're nobodies in comparison to what he is.
Going down to their level.
And he's just, he's stooping all the fucking time with these guys, and it gets really annoying, and then you start to eye roll on him. And when he does the things he does with the Nets and says the things he says outwardly and openly, the authenticity can bite him in the ass. Because now what he's done for the last 8 to 10 weeks is bitched and complained and try to force the hand of Joe Tsai, a billionaire owner for the Brooklyn Nets, to basically burn bridges with Steve Nash, who's still their head coach, to burn bridges with Sean Mark, who's still very much their GM. They're not going anywhere, and Joe Tsai sided with them. Now he has to go back into that with his tail between his legs and own up to that and now try to act like he's all in. There's no way in hell this team's going to buy that. There's no way in hell any of us are going to buy that, because for the last 8 to 10 weeks, he's done everything he could to burn this bridge, to force their hand to trade him. But then the teams out there, and this is the most telling part of all this, is that there were GMs and execs that went out there. I don't like the anonymous thing, but they were anonymous. But I do believe this is a belief around the league, that teams were not willing to trade their franchise essentially for not only a 34-year-old injury-prone superstar, but a guy they know will burn the building down. These are actual quotes from NBA execs. They know he will burn the building down.
Yeah.
This is proven. The dude literally burned the bridge with OKC, who gave him everything they could to win championships, had a 3-1 lead in the Western Conference Finals against the new dynasty in the Warriors, chokes that away, then goes to that Warriors dynasty, goes and wins a couple chips under Steph Curry's tutelage, and then leaves that to try to find a better, greener pasture by some sort, by teaming up with nut job Kyrie Irving, who hasn't won anything without LeBron James' protection. You thought that was going to be a better situation. So how would franchises ever trust this guy to be their man, especially with his age and injury concerns to be considered? This is an absolute nightmare for Kevin Durant, and I will go as far as to say, guys, maybe this is a hot take, maybe I'm being way too reactionary. I don't think Kevin Durant ever wins another title because of the fact that I don't think he's leaving Brooklyn. I think now that this has happened, unless they come to some sort of agreement after this next season, I don't think that anybody wants to trade for Kevin Durant, as crazy as that sounds, because they know what the Nets would demand, they know the leverage the Nets have, and they know what Kevin Durant is as a person and as a basketball player. As great as he is, and he is one of the greatest players to ever live at this time of his career, and what he is as a person, it's too much for these franchises to take on and trade away their future prospects and their now stars to bring him on, because it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, being yourself, being authentic, and all that is cool, but you can be authentically an asshole, right? You can self-sabotage your own career, which is all he's been doing as of late. And the choices and the words and the way he holds himself, just cool, man. Be yourself. You just dig your own grave. That's great. If that's what you want how you want your career to go out, you're in your latter years, man. Like, this is how you want it to end. It's strange. He's a strange cat. He always has been. Burner accounts, so on and so forth. When we talked about this, I said I felt like KD was most likely going to be gone from the Brooklyn Nets. I felt like that was the kind of the way this was leading. But I also left the caveat there, which is what's taking place, that the Nets are protecting themselves first, because the Nets don't want to be that franchise that will throw their coaches and their staff under the bus because the star player said this and put this on the table and you get to appease to him. And they also don't want to just appease the coach and go a coach first, a front office first, and coaching staff first, and then throw the player under the bus. So they had to find a happy medium, and for some reason they figured out a way to win. So I think the Brooklyn Nets are the ones that won this situation, because they were able to maintain their coach and Steve Nash, big name coach, keep their staff, keep all the people that they wanted to, GM everything, and they're able to also keep the star player in KD, regardless of what you feel about the way this roster is filled right now. This roster is not good, especially Kyrie's still out of the picture. So this team isn't going to be a good team this year, I don't believe. They don't have a lot of players in this team that I think are something you can build around KD with.
They have a good roster. The problem is the chemistry's not going to be there.
I don't know.
They have Claxton. They have Seth Curry still. They have.
Yeah, but who is going to lead this team? KD's
God,
never been a guy.
I was looking at the roster earlier today.
When has a team ever been led by KD, though? That's like.
Oh, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Without another star, he's always had Russ. He's always had Steph. He's
Yeah.
always had other players that are legit, or other superstars around him. If Kyrie doesn't come back to this roster, the Nets are not going to be a team.
This is what we've always talked about. There's only like 2 or 3 guys in the entire league that you can actually build a champion roster around.
The East is loaded right now.
LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Giannis. Look, those are the only guys you can definitively say.
Luka. You can throw Luka in there.
But that's the thing,
Luka
he hasn't
for
done it
sure.
yet. I believe he will be there, but he hasn't done
think
that
he's there.
yet. He hasn't done that yet. All I'm saying is, the guys we know for certain that you can. Hey, you're the guy. We're building a roster on you, and we can win a title right now.
Luka is 100% a
I
solidified
think he will be,
superstar in this
but
league.
he hasn't done it yet. Is all I'm saying. The guys that have proven it to this point is those
You put
3
KD
names.
on that Mavericks team, they're nothing
Right, but
close to what they were last
KD
year.
wouldn't be the man. Is the point I'm trying to make? Is that Luka hasn't done it yet? He will. I do believe Luka will be a champion in this league, and then I can put him in that category. But with guys we do know,
When has KD won the championship when he was the man, though?
that's what I'm saying. He hasn't done it. That's what I'm saying. I can't put him in
Yeah.
that category. Is it Luka, KD,
Okay.
Kawhi, guys like that?
I got
although
you.
are superstar players, they haven't done it. You know, they've never been the guy to win a title. Like, I know that KD won the Finals
Luka's
MVPs.
won numerous championships outside the U.S., but yes.
Okay, but let's be real. That team they were like 10 games over 500 without him
He
in
was
the lineup.
15 and won a championship,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Raptors team was and it happened to be the year. It happens to be the year that not only does LeBron leave the East for the first time when it was no longer LeBronto,
Yeah.
but it was also the fact the Warriors lost not one but 2
you're
superstar
talking
players
about
in the
Kawhi.
finals.
Yeah.
Clay blows his knee out and KD blows
Trust
his
me,
Achilles.
I'm on the asterisk.
Yeah, they
team
roll
on that,
the
yeah.
Raptors in that series. They win in 5 games.
That's
And they had a healthy
asterisk
KD and
championship.
Clay. They roll the Raptors. As great as the Raptors were, and as great as Kawhi is,
Yes.
it just. Come on, man. That was a cupcake given. Like,
Yeah.
people want to talk about the bubble. How about we talk about the 2019 finals, for Christ's sake?
Right, yeah.
That was given to Kawhi, for God's sake.
So all I'm
man.
saying is I think the Nets are the winners, the big winners
Yes.
here. They're able to keep KD. That's asses in the seats every
And the
night.
NBA, because drama. Because
Of
the
course,
drama's going to be there.
but they're able to keep Steve Nash. So now there's going to be mid-season storylines, beef being created once again because KD's going to start more drama. But I mean, unless they bring another star to this team, I'm not worried about the Nets whatsoever. As great as KD is, he's never shown to be the guy for a team without having another superstar alongside him to make any kind of noise. So And the way New York is set up right now, and the way and I think the bridge is been burnt with Kyrie, so I don't think there's any chance he returns there with all the things that have gone on.
Well, he did opt in, but the thing about it is, I think he will be a Laker. I do think he will be a Laker.
I think the bridge is burnt there with Kyrie.
I could
be wrong on that.
The Pat Beverly acquisition from the Jazz, kind of, I believe, was the final nail in the coffin that Russell Westbrook will be traded.
That's kind of a shot at Russ, if we're being honest.
It absolutely
they hate each other.
When it happens, I think the Lakers have been doing this like puff piece right now, where they're talking about, Russ is gonna, because even LeBron's going on Twitter saying stuff like, "Watch for Russ to take off this year and kill it." I can't wait to see it. That to me is all for trade value.
Yeah.
I think that's all just to get him out and trade him to some other team. They do a buyout with him like he's been bought out before. I think that's what's going to happen when you see Russell, and that's when Kyrie Irving comes in. I think that's when you see that.
I hope
trade
that happens. But yeah, so this situation, I mean, it's like I said, that's why I left that caveat there, because I know the Nets wanted to do what was best for the Nets, and they won. They were able to maintain their coaching staff and the superstar. Of course,
credit to Joe Tsai, man. He stuck his flag and says, "No, I'm sticking with Sean Marks and Steve
I love
Nash,
that.
and you ain't getting traded, motherfucker. You're not going.
They
anywhere."
have the leverage.
Yeah, and KD's like, all right.
Yeah. So I mean, the Nets will be maybe the 8th seed in the East this year.
Yeah. So when KD put in that trade request, I was like, "You're not going anywhere."
It's
like the Nets have all the leverage because of your contract.
You're right.
Had he had 1 year left in his contract, then you can say KD has the leverage here.
Yeah.
If he had 1 year left on his contract, or even 2, the Nets would have traded him.
Probably.
They would have been all for it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, okay, we can get out of this 34-year-old egomaniacal, crazy dudes. We can get him out of our organization, and we'll probably get a haul for him. Because there would be teams out there like, bet we'll give you a couple first-round picks, give you a player, because then it'd been a little bit more of a realistic trade.
Watch mid-season. There's a KD trade. Watch that happen. Watch something break down where there's an opening on another team.
Somebody
LeBron gets traded to the Nets.
Somebody flinches.
And I will say, man, the Celtics are going to have some explaining to do too, because they were offering up Jaylen Brown, and
this
other
is the second
players.
time.
Like this
is the second time Jaylen Brown's been in the mix of a big trade.
Right, man. And
So
Jaylen
he
Brown
feels
has been-
disrespected as hell.
And Jaylen Brown's been arguably their best player in the postseason since he's been there.
He
He's
balled
the one
out.
that steps up
He balled
the
out in the
most.
finals. He balled out, and he averaged like 25 a game in the
That's a shot,
finals.
bro. So
That
Tatum
sucks.
disappeared in the finals.
That's what I'm saying. And,
Awesome, Eddie Hour, man. We really do appreciate it each and every week when you get these thought-provoking questions. As always, you like to bring out a finale out of me, and I do appreciate you get the triggers out of me. I do always appreciate that. We have one more order of business to get to, guys. What is it called? Hold this L! Each and every week, we finish off each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports, whether they are friendly or unfriendly L's in the world of sports. We promise you, who is ever holding those L's in the world of sports deserve those L's in the world of sports. Mr. Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo, who's holding the L for you this week, and why is it F1?
That's not F1. But I'm gonna give it to the NFL and the NFLPA. I don't know if you saw, but Wes Welker.
Thank you for mentioning this.
Putting a picture out there, pretty much saying that he's getting denied benefits for the rest of his life because there wasn't enough evidence that shows that he had gotten or sustained those injuries during an NFL game.
He's been in the league for 18 plus years.
18 plus, and still in the league.
He's a coach for the Dolphins, if I'm not mistaken.
I think, for the receivers, I think.
Yeah.
oh man,
The disrespect that the NFL and the NFLPA just showed one of their former players, current coach in the NFL. This is disrespectful, man. Like, there's no other way to say it. This shows the commitment the NFL has to their own players. This is the commitment that it shows the NFLPA has on its own players that they're supposedly representing. This is disrespectful to everybody playing the game right now. Former and current NFL players. How do you not like? How do you, according to the doctor that saw all the documents, there just wasn't enough documentation to support the injury claims or whatever. Like, what else does Wes Welker have to do?
Well, and
for the NFL to acknowledge that yes, you received these injuries during the NFL.
And our guy Jason Dunn actually an hour ago quote tweeted Wes Welker. I don't know if you saw it. He said quote, "This is beyond disgusting, despicable. The NFL is up to its ugly disregard of former players again. This shouldn't be happening. Why even take a guy through it? Reminds me of my former brother teammate that what he went through. Kevin Turner brought awareness to the same issue. Rest in peace, KT." So yeah, I'm not to steal your thunder here, man, but this is
and one of the comments actually for the Wes Welker post, there was a video. It's like, I guess this isn't video or this isn't proof enough of you sustaining any injuries during the NFL games, and it was Welker getting knocked out cold.
Yeah.
Like
20 plus concussions in his career, man.
so,
Most people quit after 2 or 3. Like
you seen
if they're bad enough.
You see Wes Welker just like boom, like hitting the head. I think they were playing the Browns, like if I remember the video correctly. But it just goes, smacks him in the head. He goes back, smacks his head. Like, bro. Like,
Or how about in the preseason game? I think it was like in 2011 or was it 2010 or whatever it was. In the preseason game when they had the soft ground and he lost his footing and tore his ACL.
Yeah.
Is that not enough either? Like, we have a collection of video. This is the problem the NFL has on their hands.
I mean, if you play as
we
long
have
as
video evidence.
you play as long as he did, and you're going to try to say that he didn't sustain those injuries, that's wild, man.
Especially being an undersized receiver who
Yeah.
took these licks in the slot formation, where he takes the
they're
middle of the
saying
field.
there wasn't enough evidence.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Get the fuck
Yeah,
out of
it's
here.
wild.
He just needs to put together a
highlight reel.
That's funny, but it's not at the
No,
same
no,
time.
but
But you're
like,
right.
Like,
hey.
what the fuck?
Yeah.
What
What
else
can I
they
do?
Want?
Here's me being carted off.
Why don't
Yeah.
you guys? Why don't they set the precedent and let me know how to match the criteria of getting those benefits?
Yeah.
I'd love to know like what exactly you guys want to see a checklist of.
That's
And
crazy.
I love Wes Welker's response to it. It's like, NFL, I don't have the time or patience for this. Been an employee of the NFL for 18 years and still going. This is Bush League stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Facts.
it's pushing to players and like not even try anymore to get benefits. Like, this shit should be automatically, regardless of if you played in the league and if you played in the league, you sustained like a injury that forced you to retire, or like if you played in the league a certain amount of years, like you should automatically get these benefits. It shouldn't be a question of like, we'll see. Like, let's see, show us evidence of these injuries, and we'll see.
And think about the negative optics that come from this from a guy that is a champion and a former Tom Brady New England Patriot teammate. Like, this is a Hall of Fame potential guy. And for that to be at the forefront now with his name attached, I mean, it's bad enough any player has this attached, but for him, Wes Welker, a well-known guy.
Yeah, you don't think Tom Brady has noticed
Oh,
that?
man. Oh, man. And yeah, exactly. Just the notoriety that comes with Wes Welker's name. Everybody
Bill
remembers
Belichick?
that. Freaking fantasy football, just God. This
Yeah,
dude was a
PPR
PR
feed.
nightmare.
Even with the
Everybody
Broncos,
knows who he is. And
Peyton
for that,
Manning,
yeah, exactly, man.
dude.
Exactly.
Do you guys think he eventually gets his
He better.
gonna.
He
Yeah, I mean,
better.
He's gonna.
He's
I'm
almost got
sure,
20 years of service in this league, man.
I'm sure if Tom Brady and Peyton Manning both kind of like say something about it, knowing that
man.
that was their main target. You know?
get that kind of support. I mean, you already have Jason Dunn and former players like
Yeah.
Jason Dunn, who was in this league for 11
Yeah.
years.
But if you get your superstar quarterbacks
Yeah, you get
to
these
kind of
superstar
back you
names
up,
out there, absolutely.
dude.
So I'm
yeah.
hoping that's the case
I
because
really
Wes,
hope-
is without question deserves to get that
Yes.
protection, man. Without question.
Yes.
So
So NFLPA, you guys fucking suck. So how about do me a favor and
hold this L. Whatever Twitter will nail for you this week.
All right, so Eastern Kentucky defensive back Marquet Kirkendall charged with robbing postal courier, and the program is suspending him. I'm not sure what he's going to be charged with as far as like the legal side of everything goes, but he's obviously, I think he's detained and he's been suspended from his program. at
Postal
Eastern-
Service?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a federal crime then?
Well,
Yeah, that would be.
So this is what I'm
That's
saying.
actually
So-
a federal crime.
So this is a good way to end your collegiate career, is what this. Just to read this article real quick. Defensive back Marquet Kirkendall has been suspended from Eastern Kentucky's football team after being charged with robbing a postal courier. Supposedly he held the courier at gunpoint and took his keys and took multiple packages and things. I'm not sure what the reason was for doing so, but that is 100% a federal crime because that is the federal postal service. You know what I mean? So. This kid obviously was a starter for Eastern Kentucky. I think he played in a bowl game, so he had a chance obviously to make his dreams come true and be a professional. Maybe possibly. Obviously, there's a chance there for anybody. So Marquet Kirkendall, I just don't understand why these young guys are doing these things, man. Why? I mean, I understand a lot of these guys come from backgrounds that are rough and they've had certain things, and there's probably still tied to certain things that keep them in the loop of things that they probably shouldn't be anymore. But you have a chance to change not only your life, but the ones, and I've had numerous conversations about this on the show, about athletes just not able to, whether it's drinking and driving, whether it's, having weapons that are not, that are unmarked guns and things like this, carrying around these weapons and being a part of this life that you have the chance to get out of and better your life and the ones, and the generations below you to come. It breaks my heart, honestly. It's sad, and I don't like seeing these kind of things. Why you would rob a postal service worker with a gun? Why you are a a collegiate player on a team that you have a chance to make your dreams come true and be a professional football player, and everything you worked for. These guys worked for from 5th grade possibly on all the way through high school into the college years, and it's just all that work for nothing to ruin your career because of a charge. I don't understand it. It's infuriating and it's sad. But Marquet, Kirkendall, do me a favor and
hold this L. So this week has been a fun week of hyperbole, as it is almost each and every week, especially when it comes to quarterbacks and the rankings, the tiers, and the praise, and this dismantlement that a lot of players get, and some do, and deservingly so, and some undeservingly so. And then there's guys that get praise deservingly and undeservingly so. And, when you're a former player or you're a player in today's NFL or today's any league you're in, people pay attention because you've played in the league, but that doesn't always mean that you know what you're talking about. And this is something I've always said, that even though you are a person that's been intimately in the game and have been in it, and you've been in the trenches, if you will, that doesn't always mean that you know how to rank players or what to actually say, or if you even know what you're talking about at all. Well, my guy Ryan Harris is the newest addition to that. If you don't know who Ryan Harris is, he was a 3rd overall pick for the Denver Broncos in 2007. Was actually a starting member of their offensive line in 2015 when the Broncos beat the Panthers in the Super Bowl. It was Super Bowl 50, if I'm not mistaken. He went on to also play with the Eagles, the Texans, the Chiefs, and the Steelers. Had a long, very, very successful career. He is now the Notre Dame Fighting Irish's football analyst. So he's had himself a career, and he's got himself another career going on. He was on the DA show this week. And if anybody doesn't know what the DA, it's a very popular show on CBS. Damon Amendola, a guy that worked here in Kansas City as well in radio. And Damon is obviously, I think he was off this week, and he had his 2 guys filling in. And Ryan Harris had himself a take, and I definitely want you guys to hear this and hear it loud and clear.
Ryan, what about those Broncos? You've been doing preseason games for them. How do you see them and the AFC West shaping up for this season?
Well, the AFC West, I think, is really going to be led by the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, Justin Herbert's the best quarterback I've ever seen, and I played with Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger. This guy is unbelievable. They went out and got tremendous defensive additions as well, and they got offensive line help in the draft. So, I mean, this is who the Broncos are going to be chasing. And for me, what I've seen is there's been good and bad. The only thing we haven't seen out of the Broncos has been the run game. Coach Hackett's talked about that, but the starters haven't started. So expectations are high here in Denver. We haven't been able to see those starters to prove it, but make no mistake, everybody in the AFC West is chasing the Los Angeles Chargers.
Did I get that right? You think Justin Herbert is the best quarterback you've ever seen more than Peyton Manning?
No. I played with Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger, and I'm telling you, Justin Herbert's the best quarterback I've ever seen. It's unbelievable what he does. It is something that's only going to continue to increase, and he's got the most talented arm in the NFL.
Wow. Ryan Harris, go to...
Womp womp.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing? This is a former player that just admitted multiple times he played with Peyton Manning, who had, to this day, the greatest single season we've ever seen, had one of the greatest careers, not just from quarterbacks, but an NFL player ever. Ben Roethlisberger, who's a surefire Hall of Fame quarterback that played 18 years in this league.
Won 2 Super Bowls.
And look, I know this. I know when we battle and we push back on these types of ideologies or takes, that it sounds like we hate the player that we're opposing on the take. But man, I actually love Justin Herbert too. When I first saw him play against the Chiefs last minute in that week 2 game in 2020, I went, oh shit. Patrick Mahomes has himself a legitimate threat in the AFC West. This guy is talented out of the ass. Oh my God, I see why the Chargers got this dude with, I think it was a 7th overall pick. Mm-hmm. But can we please, just for 1 second or just one time when we have these talks, can we please just be honest and use context and just be real and not try to just be clickbaity? Can there just be one honest conversation? Because do I really have to say it No, he's not. Justin Herbert is not better than Peyton Manning to this point. No, he's not better than Ben Roethlisberger to this point. He's not even the best quarterback in his own division. Like, I'm not trying to make this about Patrick Mahomes. But if you go listen to Rich Eisen from the Rich Eisen Show this week, when he talked about how he's so over this hate and unfair treatment that Patrick Mahomes gets in these types of conversations. Ryan Harris made it sound as if Patrick Mahomes doesn't exist.
It's fatigue.
Saying that about how he's the best quarterback he's ever seen, man, you're lying. Mm-hmm. And if you are telling the truth and you really believe Justin Herbert's the best quarterback you've ever seen, then you do not know football. And this is a guy that had a 10, 15-year career in this league.
It's intellectually dishonest.
I'm challenging Ryan Harris, and I challenged him on Twitter. We need to have a conversation. I will put it on this show. Ryan Harris can come on the show and try to school me. Because I'll be honest with you, and I'll say it to Ryan Harris's face if I ever see him. I think I know a bit more football than you do. Because there's no way in the world you can honestly say that with conviction. And if you can, I think I have more knowledge of this game than you do. A guy that played in this league. There is no way in the world you actually believe that. And again, this is not to even nod Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert has Hall of Fame potential. The man has a losing record in this league, never has made the playoffs. And I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I remember when Patrick Mahomes was emerging and setting all these records early and often in his career, everyone held, well, he hasn't won big games yet.
Right.
Well, he hasn't won the Super Bowl yet. He hasn't done this other
Pump
stuff.
the brakes.
And then he starts doing these things, and people are still killing him. But we want to sit here and praise Justin Herbert as the greatest talent in the history of the NFL at the quarterback. I mean, it's just wild, man. This shit just triggers me. You want to talk about triggering me, Eddie? That's how you trigger me. Seeing stupid shit like this. Could Justin Herbert end up becoming that? Sure. But why do we use special treatment for certain guys? I never heard this stuff for Patrick Mahomes before he started doing these things. And Justin Herbert's never even done those things. Mm-hmm. He's never even come close. He hasn't even won a meaningful game yet in his career. Dude's played 2 years in the league. And neither one of those years was he even the best quarterback in his own division. It's so deflating, man, because it's like, Ryan Harris, the only reason we even hear about you now, bro, is saying some stupid shit like that. It's dishonest, and if you really believe that, then I can confidently say a guy that runs his own podcast here in Kansas City knows more about football than you do, because that is such a basic take, and it's such a bad and careless and irresponsible take, a take I would never have myself. Because I know football better than that. I know Patrick Mahomes better than that. I know Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger better than that. It's irresponsible and reckless, and I, again, will challenge Ryan Harris. Come on this show, man, and let us know why I'm wrong. Let me know why Justin Herbert, because you made a very baseless and a generalized statement. Tell me why Justin Herbert's the best talent you've ever seen. Tell me why he's better than Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, and clearly Patrick Mahomes, who wasn't even worth mentioning in your little rant. Come and tell me why on the Spoken Podcast, why I'm crazy and why you're right. Would love that. But in the meantime, while I wait for your response, Ryan Harris, do me a solid and hold this L, because it's a big L that you deserve, brother, for that horrific take.
Yikes.
Horrific. It's really hard to be the best quarterback you've ever seen when he's not even the best in his own division. And you can make the case he's not even the second or third best quarterback in the AFC. You can make a legitimate argument that guys like Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are all better than Justin Herbert. And I didn't even mention Patrick Mahomes.
You don't even have to do all this, man. Like, this is everyone knows this is such a trash take. Like,
oh my God.
This is like a low-hanging fruit of like the shittiest takes ever. Like, the dude has, you said, a losing record, has never made he couldn't even put the Raiders away to make the postseason.
We will clip this video, and I will mention Ryan Harris on Twitter, and I will challenge him to come on the show and tell us why. Because I have such a problem with his stances.
I love helping people. You know,
yeah, we're all for it, Ryan.
We're charitable.
We're all for it. Come on the show. We'll help you out, man. Or maybe,
yeah,
like I said, you can lead me to the water, this mysterious, mystical water that I have no idea
here
exists.
For the people.
Where in some weird dimension, Justin Herbert's the best quarterback that's ever lived. Wild.
It's good. It's good times.
Boy, we've had ourselves a fun show this week. I hope you guys have had a great time. And if you missed it at the top of the show, we have officially decided to join partnership and join teams with our guys over at Stark Media. Our guys Noah Groniger and Clint Switzer. We are very excited. They got some great things going on over there. You can hit them up at Twitter at Stark Media KC. Hit them up on Facebook at Stark Media and StarkMedia.com. They have an amazing platform. They have all kinds of great stuff going on, not just with what we do here, but they got all different platforms. They have incredible guests. They have incredible stuff, guys, and they are very professional with what they do, and they give you honest content, which is what I know you guys deep down want. We already have your First Takes and Undisputed and shows like that are just hype machines and just, talk about the same 3 topic each and every week. We have a platform here, guys, where we can provide you with anything you're looking for and give you honest and consistent weekly content. But man, this has been a fun show. I'm really excited for the future, man. Next week, this time, we will be doing our official 2022 NFL prediction show. I hope you guys are ready for that, man, because I have been waiting for this all year long, man. It's been a long year. It's been gearing up. We got a lot of good things going for. We got some great guests lined up, and Stark Media is definitely going to be great to us, and we want to be great to them in return. Go ahead,
and
Trevor.
also, I want to say, anybody that we're trying to get our subscriptions up for our YouTube channel. We're trying to build up on that. So if you guys follow the show, whether you watch it live on Facebook or YouTube or wherever, Twitter, however you watch our show, or if you just listen to the audio side of everything on those other platforms. We are trying to build the YouTube side of things up a little bit too, so if you could, just go over, just hit the subscribe button. That'll help us a little bit more. We're trying to build some traction on that end, but thank you to everybody who listens to this show on a weekly basis. Thank you to all of our people that chip in, give comments and things like that. We're just trying to work towards the YouTube side of it. So if you could, just go hit that subscribe button. We're trying to build upon that. So thank you very much.
Well said, well said. So for Trevor Twidwell, for Eddie Ortiz, for the great Clay Windler that puts all this together on the back end of things, and for Stark Media, feels good to say that. I am Lance Twidwell. Episode 181 of the Spoken Podcast is done, finished, and finito. And until we are here in 1 week's time for episode 182 to give you our full-fledged NFL predictions. We out of this bitch.
Later, people.
Yeah.